Perfect timing, man. You got back just in time. I decided, you know what?
Hmm.
Let's just go ahead and get live. I don't know. Get this shit off my screen, motherfucker.
Hmm.
Whatever.
Strike
I don't know what
three.
it's doing there.
Hmm.
Oh shit. That's, I know, man. I've been having all kind of damn hiccups, and I remember last week you kept just kicking my ass out, and I was like, damn, it doesn't even want me on my own screen. Shit. And then last minute I had to switch over to my phone. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot we're live. So let's go on ahead and intro the show. Hello, this is the Political Matrix. We are back on our regularly scheduled channel at our regular back time. Um, I'm here, of course, with my good friends and colleagues. To my what I guess that will be my left to you guys. L. Latham, the host of Super Fun. I can't talk right
Super
now, but you
fucking
guys know.
awkward funcast.
There you go. That shit. Yes.
Let's just put the fucking in there.
Put a fucking in there, and then we got our boy Emmanuel back with us. So glad to have him back. Emmanuel had a couple of fans last week. They were looking for him. In fact, Skylar wanted me to tell you in particular, Emmanuel, you are his dude. You are his man. So he loves when you're on here. He loves your takes, loves your commentary. So you were definitely
Now,
missed
was
last
this
week. And
okay? So it wasn't right. Okay, I was. Yes, I did. I wasn't in last week. I had family. I appreciate guys. I had family. They were actually affected by Hurricane Ida, and
oh shit.
like they're out for like a month. That's how bad it got. So
Well,
I
I
appreciate
figure
everybody looking out.
we need to.
Yeah.
That's probably a good topic for us to get everything kick started. And Chris, so glad to have you here. Also, brother, how we doing?
I'm all right. Same old thing, man. It just felt like we was on here yesterday, even though it was like 2 days ago. Same with L.
I
So it just
yeah, that's right.
feels like we took a bathroom break and we back at it.
You guys did great
I mean,
this week, man. That
we
was really
did just
great.
have
Oh, thanks, E.
for those who did
Appreciate
not
that.
and for those who did not catch it on my other channel, what we've been thinking with Marcus Cage, the Political Matrix, we had to stream from there for what was it, last 2 weeks or what? It seems like we did like three. It seems like this is like three shows within a week or something. But anyway, we had a great time. We had Ali Alexandra on. We had Seb Solomon, aka the Red Sea Cactus or Red Sea Socialist, whichever you know her by. Really, really fun conversation. We definitely plan on having them back very, very soon. If I can, corral them back as much as possible. So, without further ado, the topics that we have that we're going to get into for the Political Matrix tonight, we're going to talk Afghanistan. Oh shoot, let me look at it so I can remember. Afghanistan, Kanye West. I figure, I watched a little bit of L and Chris's commentary on some of the Kanye West stuff. I don't know anything about it. So anything they're going to tell me is
Me
going to be
either.
fresh. So fresh
I
reaction from
understand.
me on that. Yeah, Kanye West is kind of like a hot mess. So I don't really. I try not to pollute my mind too much with what comes out of his mouth. Um, I figure since this is the week of the week where within this time period between this show and between next week, we'll have the Gavin Newsom recall elections going on. So I figured we talk a little bit about that, and then in the mix of that I heard Larry Elder say some very, very atrocious comments regarding reparations. So of course, you all know that I'm definitely gonna have to weigh in on that and
Yes,
give
we
you guys
definitely
my.
have to talk about that.
I'm pretty sure everybody here has some thoughts on what he said. Um, what else? And of course, we have our normal updates of what's going on with all the different pandemic related topics. So we're going to go into that. But first, I wanted to get us kick started off with Hurricane Ida. Um, our host, our co-host and brother, Emmanuel, he had family who was involved with this, and that's part of why he had to take some time away. And so, Emmanuel, can you kind of give us a little update on what your family's been experiencing down there, being directly impacted by it?
Okay, well, so far, well, part of, okay,
Oh, I'll be right back. Go on ahead, Emmanuel.
okay, so far, well, part of my family was already up here. It seems to have caused immense damage. Biden, of course, touted out his little, I'm doing everything I can to help you. It's obviously a smoke screen for unemployment ending and evictions happening in the abortion ban. So I didn't really buy it very much. But I had another family member who was down there, and he almost got hit by a tree. And apparently the power is out for like the rest of the month in like the state, something like that. And it caused like massive damage in like Louisiana
The rest
and
of the
Mississippi.
month?
Yep, he's out.
Just
Power's
start.
out for the month.
Ouch.
Yeah. So, and then I heard about the stuff that happened in New York, the flooding in the subway.
Yes, I do
So-
want to get into that and talking about the they had, what was it, tornadoes in New Jersey, and then I might be getting mixed up at tornadoes, and then we had what was it, hurricane that hit in New York, or I'm getting it all kind of conflated right now, but I know there was a lot of flooding going on in New York, and then I know also in New Jersey they had a lot of damage to tornadoes, and then we have Hurricane Ida down there, on the Gulf Coast, wrecking all that damage and havoc. So I mean, it's a whole lot of shit going on. But yeah, sorry to interrupt, man.
No, that's pretty much all I got right now. I just it's just real like, I guess this weekend is particularly really difficult. It just brings back some Ida's got a very Katrina feel to me, right? You get that sense that like black and brown people are going to be disproportionately affected by what's going on in regards to that hurricane, and Biden's pandering just infuriated me. It just seemed very much like, Bush being in Katrina and Trump being in Puerto Rico. It's the same old crap you see over and over again. So that was really all I had in regards to that. It just infuriates you that, what was that? When was Katrina? 07, 08, something like that?
05.
No, 05. So 15, 16 years later.
16 years later.
Yeah, same song, different lyrics, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
I saw that flooding in in New York. I have a lot of family there. It was crazy. The subways look like a water park. I've never seen that much water in the subway before. So clearly, New York is not at all designed to deal with any major weather events. And that wasn't even a hurricane. They just got a lot of rain. Obviously, the hurricane brought it, but I'm just saying they didn't have to deal with the winds on top of the rain, and just the rain alone created havoc.
But don't you guys get nor'easters up there all the time? And I thought that they could probably handle it, with the nor'easters and stuff that come in. I know, for instance, like Atlanta, when they have kind of crazier weather or it snows or something, it really like wrecks the whole entire Atlanta metro. I mean, Emmanuel can definitely tell
Correct. That's absolutely true. I actually drove in the last snowstorm, and believe me, the whole state just completely shut down. And even like years after that, I think it's been at least a decade since that happened. If even like half of an inch of snow touches the ground, the whole state shuts down. Nobody wants to do anything. No one wants to go anywhere because they're afraid of that exact same scenario happening. Because it was really bad. It just kind of got people sleeping in cars, school buses stopping, and living there, and people stuck at kids stuck at school. It was bad. So
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised. They deal with the snow pretty well. They just don't deal with the flooding well. That's where the issue is.
Well, it probably goes to their just how filthy their sewers and gutters and stuff are too. I mean, they don't really stay on top of cleaning that shit. And snow is one thing because that shit takes some time to melt, and so it can kind of take its time with it. Especially salt and stuff out there, help it dissipate. But when you're sitting there dealing with mass flooding coming in from all different areas, and most of your drainage that's supposed to help with it is clogged. I mean, it's kind of like if there was any kind of like major rain that happened out here in California, you'd have the same issue because for those who don't know, California's fucking filthy. That's just how it is, and so all kind of trash would just clog right up and make it even worse. But luckily, they don't get that kind of rain. I want to say hello to all our friends in the chat. I see Mike out there. I see Variant, Mr. Street. And for those who I don't see in there who have not commented, I wanted to say a warm welcome to you all and thank you for joining us. Elle, some of your thoughts on like, why do you think that it's probably a little worse this time around?
Probably by design, because it's been. When did it form? Let me see when Ida formed, because Hurricane Katrina formed on August 23rd, 2005. And it would be quite odd if it was the same time for Ida. Let's see.
someone brought up a lot of the similarities between Ida and Katrina. Problems with the levees. It was around the same, supposedly around like the same date or something like that. So
26th, 3 days apart. So it's just history kind of repeating because things don't get dealt with at the time. There's all the, like you said, Emmanuel, when you said it's a lot of pandering. They did that back then. Heck of a job, Brownie. We remember all of that. And then here we go again. And then we go back to Kanye West, who said, famously that Bush doesn't care about black people, and then got so much heat for it at the time. And yet now, he'd be like a hero for that statement if he said something like that about Trump, perhaps.
Well, now that's like the modus operandi. I mean, everybody at this point can now see it, I guess. I don't know why it was so hard for other people to see it before now. But I think because they took it as like a partisan thing, not realizing that it really doesn't matter whether it be Bush, whether it was Trump. Like you saw what's happened in, with the hurricane in Puerto Rico. I mean, it really doesn't matter which one of these jokers that we have in power. None of them really give a shit about the lower income.
Exactly. Sorry about before. My mic, I touched it and it made a noise. But yeah, back then, you had the same kind of like pandering and everything, and the telethons and stuff, and like that's another way that they make money for themselves. That's not for us. Like, we don't get that money. The people in need in these communities don't get that money. They don't see the money in Haiti either for their, what they've dealt with in the past. And now, fucking now, what are they being helped now? We don't know. It was news in, news out. It was like part of the cycle. You just hear about Haiti for a little while, and then we got to go on to Ida, and then we got to go on to this and on to this topic. So, and then, don't talk about Afghanistan. Don't talk about, the horrible shit that happened there, and it's still happening because of this shitty government, which is run by people who don't give a fuck about us, as George Carlin so eloquently put it back in the past. They don't give a fuck about you. Stop voting them in. Stop caring what they think. They are not going to save you. You must save yourselves. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to help give you a lifeboat. They are the ones sinking you. That's what people need to realize.
I mean, I completely agree. It's like on Discord, I was kind of having a discussion with somebody, and they always keep trying to retort back to, well, the Democrats this and the Democrats that, and the Democrats are racist. And I'm like, I don't cape for the Democrats. I don't give a shit about the Democrats. My point is, neither one of these parties give a shit. Skyler or Tenderloins, one of his videos, he said the only difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is one is a smooth pimp and the other one's a gorilla pimp. Now it's kind of hilarious, but he's like, yeah, one's gonna smooth. They're gonna say, hey baby, I'm gonna hook you up, man. I'm gonna take care of you. All you need to do is just listen to me, baby. I got you, baby. Don't even worry about nothing. It's gonna be all breezy, baby. And so you got that. That's the Democratic Party. When really all they're doing is just setting you up to hustle you more. And then you got the Republican Party that's like, bitch, get my money. And they don't give a fuck about you. And so that's the only difference which you have. Of course, we do have a certain, I guess, demographic, kind of the upper middle class, the neoliberal class on the left, and you got the other side, which is the business class, who they're just fighting between themselves on pretty much culture issues at this point. I mean, when it comes to economics, they're basically on the same page. Only difference is one side gets more funding from oil, and the other side gets more funding from big pharma. I mean, that's really the only difference. Both of them are tied to Silicon Valley and Wall Street, which the Democrats are more tied to Silicon Valley, but don't make any mistake that they're virtually the same. Got a comment here, a new one from Leo. It says, people from California will never learn, like a dog going back to lick up his vomit. I hope that they learn. I mean, in this recall election, I tell people, I say, I don't really care who you vote for. Just vote yes on recalling Gavin Newsom. That's all I care about. You get his, and then what he's been doing right now is he's been trying to talk about how, well, I'm gonna try to do like another kind of stimulus thing, get more money out there. They're telling all the people who like work for the school district, which my girl works for the school district, that if you don't vote him back in, then like the pay raises and stuff are going to go away. But on the other side is you might keep those pay raises, but with Gavin Newsom in, you can guarantee that anybody who is against some of these procedures regarding the pandemic, the vaccination or what I call mandatory vaccine at this point, basically telling you, you got to take this or else you're walking out the door and you're fired. It doesn't matter how long you've been there. And it's starting to get to the point where you're not even having an outlet of anywhere else to go. And they're definitely not going to provide you with some kind of severance package or something to say, you know what, since you don't want to do it, then we will pay you to stay away from everybody or pay you to stay home. I would happily take that. Please, I'll go sit off in my little corner, and you guys can do whatever you want to. Take, the first, the second, the third booster, the fourth booster, which that goes into something which I was hearing out of Israel, where they were saying basically get prepared that, like we've said before, this is going to be like a regular thing. You're going to start needing to get a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. Who knows how far it's going to go. But every time they say, well, it's going to be one shot, and it turns into two shots. Then it turns into a booster. Then it turns into, well, we need a booster after the booster. And then, so, I mean, at what point, I mean, how far is this going to go? I mean, I mean, I'm being a little facetious here when I say this, but shit, is it going to literally get to the point where it's a vaccination every month? I mean, I mean, it's almost starting to get a little ridiculous at this point. Either you are solid and you feel comfortable in your product, it should be able to work. People shouldn't have to keep taking another one and another one and another one. That suggests that maybe what you're saying is super effective is not quite as effective. I mean, I'm not making any kind of medical advice here, determinations, but I'm saying, come on, you guys told us a lot of people, they'll start getting vaccinated, things will be fine. Only a certain amount of the population will have to get it. Now it's turned into every single person. But I have been seeing a whole lot of different things that have been going on as far as pushing back. And I actually noticed something. What was it? Two of the FDA officials actually decided to step down. And what I actually heard, I don't know for a fact that this is what I was hearing about why they stepped away. Is they said they believe that this should be a decision which should be held by FDA officials, that they should be making the say so and the call on what they should do. And the rumor going around is that it's actually the CDC which is pushing a lot of what's going on and putting a lot of pressure on the FDA. Um, so, your thoughts on that, panel? What do you guys think about what I've said?
Well, I saw before we came on, they were talking about, at least for Israel, a fourth shot. I don't know if you had mentioned that, but
yeah, fourth shot.
Yeah, so it's never going to end. And then with each stupid variant they come up with, that's another shot required for that. So here we are, stuck in this stupid race. And unfortunately, there's not going to be much. There's not going to be many options for those of us who are going to remain non-compliant. More vaccine. I already got 2 shots. Correct. Yeah, they're already
Mike.
talking about. They're already talking about it. So, and in Israel, they're like, basically, you're going to take this fourth one and you're going to like it, and there's no anything you can do about it. But push is coming to shove, and the people who feel how I do, we're gonna have to make some decisions. A perfect example: I just got the email at work yesterday. Basically, they'll pay us $500 if we want to get vaccinated, right? So that's one thing. The second part is if you choose to remain vaccinated, you have all these new rules to deal with, such as traveling. Traveling is defined as spending one night out of your home. Doesn't matter the city, the town. You could be sleeping at your neighbor's house. If you're out of your home for one night, you're considered traveling. And we have the ability to work remotely. So if you travel more than once in a 4-month period, you will lose your remote privileges. And I'm seeing, yeah, I know, I laugh too. And I'm seeing this stuff not just at my workplace, but I'm seeing it a lot online and hearing it a lot from people I know in other jobs. So they're forcing it on us one way or another. They didn't need the government to come down and issue a mandate. They knew they were going to get the employers to get on board.
Well, they were never going to do it top down because they know what that looks like. And I want to say shout out. I noticed abolish politicians in the house. Hey Kelly.
What's going on, guys?
Let's see, Leo.
Hey, what's up, guys?
I want to read this comment. It says, read the latest CDC. They're treating Afghanistan with ivermectin before they come to the U.S. Interesting. I haven't heard about that, but I mean, I don't rule anything out. So, and of course, Elle says bribery, which that can be applied to so many things that we've already talked about. I just know that at this point, what's going on is I think I did my video probably about a month ago saying that yes, it is definitely going to be mandatory. people can say, oh, well, they're not forcing you to. Well, they're literally telling people that if you take this and you do have side effects of any kind, you cannot sue for it because it's emergency use RNA. So you're not going to be able to sue for it. So if you get, whatever happens to you, you're just screwed. And so they're saying, you know what, we want you to take that risk on our medication, even though we don't have any way to tell you what the hell this is going to do to you a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, because that's what a lot of people don't think about. It's not just about what's happening to you right in this moment, or, oh, well, you might take it and you got a little sick and you feel fine. What are the long-term side effects? And if you actually do any study just on how we approve drugs in this country, there's a process which is done. And I mean, even the most rushed thing that I can think back to throughout history was like maybe 5 to 7 years at a minimum. I mean, stuff like aspirin and penicillin has like 15 years where they've studied on it and got, clinical trials and all these things. And I feel like, how are you, if they took away the fact of I would say the lawsuit aspect, that you're not allowed to sue, I think that might make some people feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm not saying it would make me feel more comfortable and make me want to go take it, but I'm saying you're basically telling people you're going to have to take it or whatever. I heard I heard in the active duty military that they're going to be forcing court martials on people who don't want to take it. Now, I haven't heard back if they're going to allow people to depart from service or if it's just flat out court martial. I mean, I tell people that it's going to get a lot worse than what we're seeing. And just like Chris was talking about, we're going to have to start making some business decisions pretty soon, because this is only going to keep ratcheting up. Anybody who says, well, it's not mandatory. Well, what happens if you're in a town where, say you work for, say, GM. GM is the highest paying company in your area. You've worked there for, say, 15 years. You have benefits, all of these things saved up, and they tell you you have to take it or you're out the door. How do you recoup that money which you lose from not working at a job which pays you as much? And that's not being addressed. And then tying back into something that Emmanuel wanted to talk about, the eviction moratorium is up. And so I know people talked about it like maybe a week ago when it actually started to go down. But now we got to actually focus on the effects, because we're going to start hearing the numbers. Give it probably by the end of this month, and we're going to start seeing the massive numbers of people who are getting evicted on top of this. So, I mean, you have people where they might be already behind on their rent, and then you're telling them, hey, if you don't take this vaccination, you lose their job also. So it's gonna get sticky for a lot of people out there. So I mean, I just want us to all be aware of that and not be surprised when these things start coming down the pike. Any thoughts on that, Chris or El?
Hey, Marcus, I found the document that was alluded to by Leo in the chat about the CDC and the thing that we can't talk about. But we can put it on the screen, I think, and show that it's a real thing. It really happened.
What's the source? What site is that from?
CDC.
Oh, it's literally.
I'll share it.
Oh wow, yeah.
I got it. Don't worry. I got y'all.
Wow.
Okay. Where is this sucker? It's right in there. I hope I can. Yeah,
okay.
I
Gotcha.
highlighted it.
Here, I'll blow it up real quick.
Thanks, Leo, for the comment.
Yeah, good looking out, Leo.
Thank you, Leo.
I want to read it. It said, yeah, screw it. I'm just gonna fucking read it. I'll read the highlighted part. all Middle Eastern, Asian, North African, Latin American, and Caribbean refugees should receive presumptive therapy with, I won't say that one, single dose of 400 milligrams. And for children, half of that amount. Well, I guess from 12 to 23, half that amount of Iverson. Yeah, 200 milligrams orally once by day to departure to the U.S. Wow, that's it says what it says.
It's what it is, man. You can't say anything.
I mean, and the thing about it is, oh wait a minute, I don't want to do that one. And the thing about it is, it's not like, I mean, we didn't have to add any context to it. It was exactly what Leo said. I mean,
Yeah.
literally. And that's the crazy thing about it. I watched what was that? I think the Hill with Kim Iverson on there, and they were literally talking about, and it's crazy the fact that they're on basically the corporate algorithm and everything, and they still are even scared to be able to mention it because of how YouTube is like, it's almost like a zero tolerance to even bringing up anything, which I don't know, maybe they might be loosening up since the mainstream is starting to talk about it, because just like last week, not last week, but what was it, last year, when anybody who wanted to talk about the possibility that it was an actual lab leak, just even talk about it, not even saying that that's what we believed. Anybody who want to talk about it, channels were getting censored, demonetized, and yanked down. Now, corporate media is like, well, I mean, it's possible now. And so now we've gotten a little bit of grace period on it. And so maybe because it's actually starting to be talked about a little bit more. And yes, I hate when people bring up that horse dewormer talking point that is straight out of Rachel Maddow's lips. The thing about it, what we have to focus into is this has been in multiple countries, Africa, India, a lot of more poor countries. This has definitely been like one of the top things that has been used. I know it's been used in Mexico also, and they always like to call it a horse dewormer. Now, if you mix it into all of this and put it into the gel form and all this stuff, then yes, it becomes that. But I'm trying to remember what is it. They literally have got a Nobel Peace Prize for the one which is for humans. This has been prescribed to humans from actual doctors. I mean, I know the guy is kind of a little on the little crazy side, but Alex Jones literally sitting there with the prescription from his doctor. So I don't know. Maybe now we're going to just start saying, you know what? Hey, let's just not even believe doctors who prescribe it. Let's just say, even if a doctor prescribes it to you, that doctor is somehow less credible than whichever mainstream media that you or legacy media you tend to listen to. That's kind of tragic and sad that the media actually is taken more credible than doctors on medical issues, but that's the crazy world that we're living in at this point. Let's see. What do we?
It should not take Joe Rogan and Alex Jones pushing a stunt on TV to get people to have a conflicting opinion, a popular public conflicting opinion about the the thing we can't talk about. I'm sorry.
If this was a medical issue.
I want to read this real quick. Yeah, what else said. I want to put this disclaimer out here. No one here is implying that ivermectin is being given to people with COVID-19 for the record. We are just saying that it's...
See, we got to do that now.
Well, yeah. Well, we all... Let's just... this part, I'll cut the shit and just put it how it is. Because YouTube gets a lot of funding from these same very, big-time people... Granted, I don't see them a lot because I have premium. I pay for the premium Google, so I mean not Google, but YouTube. So I don't watch any of the commercials. But on a couple other channels, when I happen to be on those, I see nonstop drug company, and pharma. And so YouTube is only worried about, chasing the mighty dollar. So they're like, hey, whatever Big Pharma says is what goes. And whatever Big Pharma can push, that's anything they're against, we're against. So the whole I like for instance, even when I'm appealing, when we get videos taken down and deal with these strikes and stuff, there's never solid answers ever to what the hell I'm talking about, because most of these people know that they don't have solid answers. I've actually requested, I say, YouTube, have somebody call me, sit down and talk to me and explain this shit to me. Or you know what? You can come on my channel. I would love to have YouTube representative to come on here and explain to us and debunk us and then set us straight. But they don't want to do that. They just want to sit there and be vague about everything and then look for a reason to yank us down without telling us exactly why. Yes, Kelly, I agree with your. That's a big part of what it is. That is a big part of what's going on here. Mr. Street says, if you want to know where this is going, look at Australia. Ugh.
Exactly. That's exactly. Yep.
We got to talk about Australia and the social credit system.
I say, in fact, Emmanuel, for those who are not familiar with what's going on in Australia and what Mr. Street is talking about, can you kind of bring the audience up to speed? I'm pretty sure most of us will know, but for those who are just tuning in or not familiar with some of these events, can you break it down a little bit for them?
To sum it up exactly, it seems to be a precursor to what a constant surveillance state looks like. It looks like they're about to do like straight up home quarantine, like what Chris said. Like if you leave your house, or there'll be people watching, there'll be a system watching you, taking your every move, and supposedly they're supposed to expand it out internationally. It's starting in South Australia. So they're expanding it out to New South Wales and Victoria. I mean, it's spreading.
Well, what you said is right. I've literally seen like kids who were sitting out at the park or whatever, some at the park, some were like out at the beach, and like they're like, the cops are like on them, like, come on, you're going straight to jail. You're not supposed to be outside. And I mean, it's getting extremely authoritarian, starting to get a little bit, like, I always tell people, like, we're in the early stages of possibly walking into a very dystopian type future. I know a lot of people look around and they're like, well, I see all these buildings, skyscrapers, we have businesses, everybody's going to the movies, this and that, people are going to birthdays, weddings, all of these things are going on. There's no way that everything can be just thrown out of whack. And I mean, if you see what we've just had recently, like what Emmanuel brought up about Hurricane Ida, they're going to have no power for a month down there. I mean, and I remember last time I was down there, it was easily like 10 years after Hurricane Katrina. And a lot of the areas still hadn't recovered. And I guarantee you, there were plenty of areas which still hadn't recovered at the time of this happening. You look at what's going on in New York, all the massive flooding, and whether people say it's climate change, which is because of indirectly man-made things that are happening, or whether they believe that it's actually being even controlled to a more sinister level. Whatever it is, we do have things that are starting to happen, and we can see that a lot of these climate or weather type events are starting to become more and more extreme. Down in that same very area, one of like my sister tribes, talking about indigenous tribes, they were being forced out of their lands in Mississippi due to the rising water levels. They had been in that area for roughly like 150 years, and now they had to be relocated to another area because they're losing that area. And most of us know definitely about what's happened with Florida. The water level is always increasing, especially in South Florida. Leo says, what happened to my body, my choice? Yeah, the new thing which they say is, well, it's your body, your choice, but you can affect other people. And I'm like, so what about secondhand smoking? You guys never really cared that much about that in most places, and that
Exactly.
other people. I mean,
Exactly.
it's like it's like the laws about seatbelts, which I've always questioned, had an issue with. If I don't want to put on my damn seatbelt and I want to go flying out of my own fucking car, that's my right. Why is it? Why are you telling me what I need to do? What that is that goes back to a lot of these authoritarian type Karens out here who want to fucking control people, and that's what's going on now. Well, and here's the thing about it. What I was hearing from those FDA officials who would step down, they were saying, well, this is supposed to be for immunocompromised for the book, and so a lot of the stuff they were qualifying it for certain people. Whereas the CDC was like, nah, screw that. We're just going to do it for everybody. And this is that same kind of authoritarian mindset. I mean, it brings me back to, sadly, somebody I used to really love to listen to, the progressive soapbox, Jamal Thomas. Um, I get it. He's immunocompromised. And so a lot of these people have a lot of fear going on. And that fear is leading to irrational behavior and irrational thought processes. Um, a lot of, I mean, I won't go into actual percentages or numbers, but let's just say if you compare that to other things, you shouldn't be nearly as scared as a lot of these people are acting. Um, I see Pretty in the chat says, apart from the CCC under Biden's New Deal, sorry, I guess I must have missed that first part. Oh, do you think the refugees will be a part of the cycle under Biden, the New Deal? Uh, well, with a lot of the politics of Biden, it's getting really squirrely right now with Biden. I don't know what he's going to do because with Afghanistan, in which I do want to get in and talk in depth a little bit more about Afghanistan because we just kind of touched on it last week. With a lot of the bad press that he's getting and getting beat up in the polling there, and then you have these authoritarian type Karens who are upset that not enough people are vaccinated fast enough. That's giving him he's taking a hit there. And then from the people on the left who are more focused on we're not getting proper checks, we're not getting, compensation for our businesses being shut down and letting the eviction moratorium roll by, he's getting hit from that front also. So I mean, Biden, I think, no telling what he's going to do. He's going to probably do whatever he can to try to stay in somewhat good graces because right now things are not looking good. And you look who's next up the bat. I mean, I said before the election, and I was wrong. I'll admit that. I said that Biden wouldn't be in very long. Actually, I said at most. I guess I'm not wrong yet. I said up to 2 years I'll give Biden in office. Then after that, I don't see much else. At this point, I don't see him getting out after 2 years because they're gonna drag this guy at least past what is it first term. He's going to have to run again because Kamala's ratings are just dog shit horrible, and they tried so hard to force this and make this happen. And I believe that in their thinking, they thought, oh, well, if COVID is no longer an issue anymore, then, we'll be able to hand this off to Kamala and then basically run on identity politics. And I just think that whole plan was just far, far miscalculated, and it's not going to work at this point. Um, let's see. I wanted to get that comment. Leo says, absolutely, my son is a cancer survivor and immunocompromised. And they are playing on a lot of people's, on people being immunocompromised and that worry and that fear. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be worried. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying they're telling you to be more afraid. And that's getting people to be more reactionary. Um, Back to Australia. In Australia, they actually have an app now to report people. That's one of the new things. Report people who, if they see them outside and they believe they're not vaccinated, or even if they're just out past curfews, And I don't know, that gives me a nasty.
It's a 15-minute check-in like every time, right? Like you have to check in like every 15 minutes or something like that, right?
Well, they can hit you up and ask you your location wherever you are, and you have to report back within 15 minutes your location. And
They're also
no, go ahead, El.
They're also implementing a system where they can delete your social media accounts if need be. So I have like a screen share for that from The Guardian, August 25th, 2021. Let me go back to that screen share.
Oh man, yeah. I guess in the meantime, let's look at this comment, and I'll pass.
Oh, sorry.
Panel. While El's getting that, it says, I mean the CCC, as in the old days, militia he brings back. Will history repeat itself? Check out the Biden New Deal. So yes, we're gonna have to get into that. I'll bring that back up, and let's see what you got here, El.
So yeah, Australian powers to spy on cybercrime suspects given green light. Coalition bill to create powerful new variants. Sorry, my bad. Warrants allowing authorities to modify and delete data and even take over accounts passes Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Despite concerns about the low bar of who can authorize a warrant and that the government failed to implement all the safeguards recommended by the bipartisan Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. So despite all of these security issues, they're going forward with this act. I have the act as well. Like, I don't know where I put it. I think it's in here. Oh, no, don't go there.
Andres, ¿qué pasa, hermano?
Oh, sorry about that.
No, just saying what's up. I saw another one of our buddies hop in the chat.
Andres, yes. Yeah, Andres.
But
what's up?
And
anyway, I think I can go to the.
Oh.
Where did I go? Damn it. The warrants situation. Okay. It's data disruption warrants that enable the AFP and the ACIC to disrupt data by modifying, adding, copying, or deleting in order to frustrate the commission of serious offenses online. Network activity warrants allow agencies to collect intelligence on serious criminal activity being conducted by criminal networks. And account takeover warrants let the AFP and the ACIC take control of a person's online account and can be combined with other warrants to gather evidence to further a criminal investigation. And this is just all happening because when it started, like, there was somebody who protested. This was one of the extreme examples in the very beginning of this COVID-19 regulation situation in Australia, where somebody had protested and they had a Facebook account and they had information there to try and get people involved. And they ended up the police ended up at her house and arrested her. And she was pregnant too at the time. So this all starts because you let that happen, and then you let all these other arrests happen out of nowhere, and then it just becomes this whole big thing. Yep. And now it's going to be the new normal.
Well, this is what, and I wanted to kind of go into that comment Leo set up there. Leo said, because I hear a lot of people who come from the right, and they often bring up points like this. They also gave up their guns. Being a former weapons tech, weapons specialist, whatever, bomb tech and all that, it doesn't matter if we have guns. You can't fight. You can't fight back against the military. That's just asking for suicide. That's all. That's all going to happen. Because you got to remember, even if you have a cache of weapons all set up, they can literally just send a drone and take you out. So, I mean, at this point, if we were still back in, say, let's go back maybe the early 1900s, yeah, you could fight back against the government back then, but and tanks, drones. I mean, they literally monitor all our communications. Before you can organize anything, you're already dead. So, I mean, the armed resistance it sounds good, but in actual application, it's not going to work. Um, there we go. World War III is on the horizon. Afghanistan is not in U.S. interest. Each country has no choice but to choose a side. Thank you for segueing that back into Afghanistan.
Thank you.
Afghanistan is something that I did want to touch back on again, and what a lot of people like, some people like the narrative right now is, oh well, Biden pulled out, and oh well, there's going to be more attacks, and we might have to do this. This is, excuse me, this is the military-industrial complex trying to weasel their way back in. A lot of times, some of these attacks are actual factions within our own government which are operating independently for their own interest. A lot of times, Biden might not even have a clue what the hell's going on. He might think that this is legitimate attacks and things like that. You got to realize how much money the contractors and a lot of these military industrial complex type people are making over there. I mean, you start looking into like the poppy fields and how much poppy was being produced out of there. And a lot of people might look at poppy fields and only think about, well, heroin directly and drug addicts. Don't realize that a lot of pharmaceuticals are made from this same poppy also. So Big Pharma has a hand in the military-industrial complex also. So they weren't pushed out of Afghanistan by the Taliban. That's not what happened. I mean, at any point we could literally sit there and we could put 1 million troops there and completely suppress the place if we wanted to. That's not what they want to do. They're not really worried about ending and winning and all that. It's about making money. One thing I noticed while I was active duty is I noticed how the amount of active duty military in theater continued to decrease and decrease and decrease, and how much civilian contractors continue to increase and increase. So I start off with a handful of us, doing a job, one civilian there making probably about 3 times more than us. Let that go another 10 years later. Now it's 2 or 3 military and 6 or 7 of those contractors making a ton more money. And people wonder, well, why is Afghanistan and all that costing all of this money? Why is it so expensive? Because we're paying all these private contractors shitloads of money to basically just mooch off the government. And a lot of these contracts come from friends of politicians and lobbyists, and all this is passing money back and forth to each other. Yes, and the Sacklers are definitely going to skate. I mean, the way that they've worked out, Elle, would you like to take this one actually about the Sacklers?
I don't know enough about the Sacklers. I learn about the people behind the scenes as much as possible. I think they're just like a front anyway. So I don't really concern myself with these specific names.
They are at this point to a degree. Oh, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to say, are you talking about the court ruling that basically said the bankruptcy court ruling that basically says if there are any future lawsuits, they are actually immune from being charged for any future convictions after the fact. So, they got to skate free.
Well, you got to remember that the reason why I say that they started off kind of doing their own thing, but just like anything in this government, anything in this country, as it starts to grow large enough, you get the attention of the people at the top, and eventually they infiltrate you, or you willingly kind of co-opt with them. I believe the Sacklers are willingly co-opting with these people, and any way that they could make their pennies, well, I don't want to say pennies, but any way that they could make whatever bucks that they're trying to make, however they're going to get it, they do it. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was going to say I could be wrong, but did I read something about them gaining immunity this week?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
That's right. It did. It happened this week.
Yeah,
That's what
I heard about this like a couple of weeks ago. This is what they were like holding off, and it's really kind of shitty. Though I mean, it shows how shitty our court system is because what they've done is a multi-billion-dollar company which has billions, on the ledger, is literally using a bankruptcy argument to get out of, paying to get out of any possible future lawsuits, which it's really disingenuous that they're even letting that argument fly. But not only are they letting the argument fly, but they're going to win on this ridiculous, court case. Go ahead, El.
Oh yeah, I just found the article. I found an article about it. Federal court grants Sackler family immunity from all future opioid lawsuits, September 4th. So that's today.
Which article is? Make sure we read it out so we cite our source.
Jurist.org. This is the first thing that came up in DuckDuckGo. So, but there's something in it as a source, and that comes up with NPR.org. So that's as mainstream as you get there. The Sacklers who make billions from OxyContin win immunity from opioid lawsuits.
Yes, and keep in mind, OxyContin is made out of opium. Which place in the world has the most opium? Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Now where? Well, now does
winner chicken dinner.
Yeah, it's kind of odd that Afghanistan, who's been pumping out all this opium over the last 20 years, that's the reason why you can see so much of mainstream media freaking the fuck out about getting out of Afghanistan. Not only is it Big Pharma loses money, weapons manufacturers lose money, and mineral resources. We forget about that. There's all kind of other minerals that they mine for all over the place. Like, I was blown away that how much of us in the military were used to basically be like security for high-level CEOs and executives to walk around and figure out, well, I'm gonna build this company, or I'm gonna build this well over here, and I'm gonna do this over here, and I'm like, wow, these corporations are like coming in like this is fucking monopoly and trying to figure out which, I'm gonna take Boardwalk and you could take Baltic and Mediterranean. I mean, this is literally what they're fucking doing over there. I mean, it's pretty disgusting and gross, and it's all in the whole. It's all in the whole guise and facade that they're really fighting this war over there. And think about it. At this point, we went in there supposedly to get Osama bin Laden. And so, and this is something a lot of people don't know. Osama bin Laden, they were the Taliban was going to give him up. They were like, yeah, we'll go capture him, we'll get him for you. They said, nah, well, I mean, we don't really want that. We want you guys out of power too. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. I mean, we got to be out of power too? What the fuck? And the reason why is because they didn't want to do opium production. So you bump the Taliban out of the way, and then you spend a whole long time. We're searching for him. Oh, damn, we almost got him here. Oh, damn, we almost got him there. Just for him to pop up in one of our allies' countries. And people say, oh, well, maybe Pakistan's not really that good of an ally to be housing him. How do you know Pakistan wasn't asked to housing there while they run all over the country and act like they're really doing something? Kelly had a comment here. It says, but what will happen to the Sackler Billionaire Philanthropist gallery at the Louvre? Not a damn thing's going to happen to it. What all they've done is, because they've gotten a lot of bad press, they've been taking their name off of things. So that's kind of what's been going on. El, can you put that article in the chat for everybody? That way that they'll be able to pull it up and be able to go through it, in depth more.
I did. I put both of them, the source within the source as well.
Let's see. Oh, got a compliment here. Thank you, Leo. Says this is a very informative chat.
Appreciate it, Leo.
Good job. Thank you. We try to look at everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Nobody on this panel gives a shit about the Democrats or the Republicans. We're just about what the data says and what's going on. And we honestly hope that more people will wake up and realize that the Democrats are going to screw over the lower class and use that in the guise of, oh, well, these are just the, what do they call it? The deplorables. So they're not worth caring about. So we're only going after these people who are the bad people, the racists, which I'm not going to say some people aren't racist over there, but they're using that blanket approach to delegitimize those people so it's easier to attack them. And then the same thing that's happening from the right. They're saying, well, that's Antifa, and this is all this crap like that, and this is identity woke politics and all that, so that they could attack the other side. And what's happening is the billionaires, and actually it's above the billionaires, it's the owner class. The owner class has put down directives, suppress them all, and then get this person to do that. We scream about it over here so we can push for more censorship. I mean, we already know about, and here's something a lot of people don't know. In Afghanistan, now the Taliban literally has more Black Hawk helicopters than all of our allies. How did that happen? If they know they're pulling out, why the hell would you leave all of this equipment behind? They could have been getting this shit out for months. And so this is what mainstream media tries to tell you. Well, if they would start pulling out the stuff, then that's an admission of loss. Okay, so it's better to pretend like you're not going to lose, pretend like you didn't lose, and just leave billions of equipment and weapons and facial recognition technology and all kind of shit there. I mean, come on, people, think about it. That's not what's going on. That shit was left there on purpose. That way, when they start warming up more attacks and things like that, then they can have a justification to need to go back in. That's the hustle game, because they know old man Winter, old man Biden is not paying attention to shit. I mean, he's barely fucking propped up with a stick up his ass, reading, barely mumbling through the teleprompters. He is not there. And so he has no, even if he was there, I don't think he'd give a shit. I mean, all they have to do is give him some kind of watered down excuse. I mean, we saw how quickly he folded. Listen to Bush lying about going into Iraq. And so we know it doesn't take much for Biden to get into these things. And if you look at his history, he supported every fucking war that has come up his whole time in office. So for anybody to think that he really is like, he's changed now, and he really wants to pull us out of war, I got a bridge to sell you. Let's see. Mr. Street says, this reminds me that South America and North America in the 16 to 1700s grew opioids. They sent the plants far off to whatever other reason. Another thing a lot of people don't know, most marijuana production came actually from Mexico until they went down there and they destroyed most of the crops and like completely destroyed the land and everything, and that actually led to them having problems growing crops and things like that, and leading to more poverty and leading to a higher rise into gangs and cartels. So every single problem that we see, whether it's refugees coming in, whether it's MS-13 and the cartels and all of this shit, whether it's opioid productions, the United States literally set the fires in these areas and then runs in and acts like they're going to be the firefighter. And that's what we always have to keep in mind with all of these situations. The U.S. always has a hand right in the middle of every single one of these things. Let's see.
You know, when they talk about Afghanistan, I'm always like, well, where's the next conflict going to pop up? So where do you have to start looking? You have to start looking. Or Africa. I was going to.
Oh well, they already got a couple of spots that they've hit in Africa. Damn, I forgot to ask Sebs about it when we had her on, because they're already in
Yeah.
Eritrea, they're already in Kenya, and all they've done is took a lot of these troops out of these areas and then start moving them around and bolstering the troops deeper in around the areas of the borders of Israel. So, Syria, Lebanon, that's where these troops are going. And so the fact that all of these troops are building up in that area, and you watch all the stuff that's been going on between Israel and Palestine, or just Israel and every neighbor around it, they've been getting more and more aggressive, especially with Iran. There's been a lot more strikes inside of Iran on nuclear facilities, on assassinations, on various different politicians and advisors, all kind of stuff. So, in my opinion, yeah, we might see some small spats here and there, but I say keep your eyes on Iran and what might happen there. I don't see a nation like that continuing to just say we're going to keep getting screwed over. I don't know how much longer that's going to be acceptable to even the people there. So, and the only reason why I think they haven't done anything now is because they know they're going to take heavy casualties and losses. And I believe that they're also trying to work on some allies. And as they start to build more alliances with some of these other African nations and Russia, don't think that Russia is not going to be involved in this. And China. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you guys, woo, the bad, evil Russia. But if you got the United States who's being aggressive on one front, and they're literally threatening other nations, then those nations are going to push back. So all of these people who always make Russia the bad guy, the United States walks around spitting in everybody's face, and their mindset is, well, everybody should just accept it because we're America. That only lasts so long before people are like, okay, I'm going to punch you back. Let's see. And yeah, China, and for those who are not familiar, like Mr. Street says, you guys need to look into what's going on with China right now. China is getting themselves merged with everybody, and Russia has been also. But the difference between when Russia does it and when China does it, which is different than the U.S. When the U.S. goes into a country, everybody has to make money. Everybody. So whether it's the weapons manufacturers, whether it's opioids, whether they start pumping Nestle water in there, they start putting McDonald's, all of that stuff. That's how you know, the U.S. is definitely here because they put themselves all over the music, TV. Every aspect of the U.S. they force it into all these other nations. When China does it, when Russia does it, you might not have a clue. They're not going to be putting up a bunch of Chinese restaurants and all of this stuff, which would symbolize parts of their economy. Russia's not going to do that either. They're just going to put money into corporations. They're going to put money into certain areas, and they're going to buy different things. Right now, China owns a good chunk of a lot of the real estate in the U.S., and they've been buying a lot of real estate throughout the Caribbean, also specifically in Jamaica, that I know of. So
they've been doing workout in Africa too.
Oh yeah. Let's see, what was that here? Let's see. Oh, you guys are funny. And I guess I guess you let's get everybody up to these I guess the updates going on with the pandemic, we'll call it.
Yeah, so I read, interestingly enough, the FDA had just approved, as we know, the Pfizer or Comirnaty vaccine, which is basically the same as the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, for use for 16 and up. And it turns out after that happened that just a little bit later, 2 people have left the FDA. They have resigned. And looks like the article I have has like a fucking paywall, which is great. But I think you guys have heard of this. FDA, I could look it up on the DuckDuckGo real quick. FDA to whatever the fuck. The two people left the FDA. And as we said before, over the booster shot plan, allegedly. So I'm on Yahoo Finance. So yeah, two FDA officials reportedly resigned over Biden administration booster shot plan. It's a transcript. Great. Anyway. We know that with Pfizer, we got some reports from an Israel study that said that booster shots have shown some pretty strong efficacy data. Of course, not anything different than what expected, about 70% there. And so that's really good when it comes to the whole discussion of what does that mean for the general population? As we know that the U.S. is studying that, looking at that, and hoping to, within the coming weeks, approve boosters for Americans by September 20th. So, yeah, this is not very helpful, but but basically, the departure of two senior FDA, here it is, vaccine leaders ahead of the agency's decision on boosters. The Israeli Health Ministry publishing data that supports the claim of Pfizer boosters offering additional protection against COVID, and the new study showing Moderna's vaccine. So this is like an interview with these people. But they said there's a lot of tension there, and this is actually causing some health experts to make comparisons to the Trump administration and the oversight that came and the sort of heavy-handed top-down strategy that came from the White House last year. So really a tough time over there at the FDA. These two individuals, that's Dr. Marion Gruber and Philip Krause, are going to stay on through the end of the booster process, but then after that are stepping down. So that's what it says from this person named Anjali Kimlani, who's interviewed in this segment. So that's a little bit of the insider.
Elle, I had a question for you when you finish your next statement.
I guess it's just about the boosters, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Are you I want to know your exact take on like the censorship in regards to the vaccine, because it seems like it's going to get a lot worse before it gets.
Yeah, it's getting worse, as we've seen. But I think as long as you back up your statements, I think it's best that you be as prepared as possible. Unfortunately, I wasn't with that article, but hopefully in the future, I won't get paywalled. Maybe if I go to like Yahoo as an aggregate and I look up the article, I can like find it and then share it that way. Because a lot of these sources, they like to ask for money all the time, which is hilarious because they a lot of the time are lying to you or being very biased. But they're allowed to lie and be biased because they're the mainstream news outlets, and we are not, because we are lowly independent media people. So we don't have. They have different standards than we do.
Well, I'd say even if we do have our sources, that doesn't protect us. I mean, last year, literally, I watched whole channels get taken down just for reading what the CDC says is in the vaccine directly from their website. So, I mean, I don't feel like we're necessarily safe, even if we just cite our sources. At this point, they're so invested in the vaccination and everything. Sorry, I think I got an echo. Yeah, I think they're so invested that they don't really care about how we say it or what we say it. If one of their people feels threatened in any kind of way by what we're saying, it'll be yanked. Just like with the people who were talking about the lab leak last year. they were getting demonetized for it, and some of them lost their channels. It's just a matter of how what you say that they've decided. Okay, you went a step too far. I wanted to get to this comment. Kelly says or asked, why is all our vaccination info so dependent on Israel? Hit me up on Discord and I will go into detail on why. I don't want to say that
because you can't say it here.
I have a scientific reason.
Well, I guess you guys can give your takes, Chris, L, and Emmanuel, and I'll Kelly, just hit me on Discord. And for those who are on my Discord, hit me up on there, and you can basically ask me anything unfiltered, and you're going to get an unfiltered answer without this YouTube censorship.
Well, I would say, sorry, Al, go ahead.
The scientific answer is like the data coming from Israel is important because they are one of the most vaccinated nations. So, or if you want to call it a nation, that's another story. But they're one of the most vaccinated places in the world. And so they're looking at the data from Israel and the Ministry of Health and everything and seeing if it is going to work here based on that data, if the vaccines are working or not. And they are not, spoiler alert, and even the booster is not doing so swell. But that's basically why a lot of independent media people are looking at Israel. And they're also looking at Iceland.
In our opinion, they're not working.
Their efficacy has gone way down on the Pfizer vaccine specifically. The efficacy has gone way down from what it was before. It has waned, and that is why boosters are being considered here in the first place, is because of that data, allegedly.
Go ahead, Chris.
That I would just say the reason why we pay so much attention to Israel, because everything they're doing is what we want to do here, right? So they were quick with the vaccine trials. We followed suit. You know, they were quick with the vaccine rollout. We followed suit. Now all of a sudden, the booster is important now. They're giving out the booster. They're giving out their third shot, and now they're mentioning a fourth shot. So you can see we won't be modeled exactly like Britain or Australia, but what they're doing in Israel is more aligned with what we're doing here. So again, it's all about the narrative, and it's not about medical information at all. Like Elle said, they are the most the most vaccinated population in the world that we know of, right? And of course, the narrative is that, look, even being vaccinated, the variants are coming and you all need to constantly protect yourself by taking these additional shots. So they're basically just getting us ready, letting us know that we have multiple shots in our future.
Yeah. Oh, can I address this comment?
Bootlicking season.
Here, hold on. Before you go, Manuel, I just want to say this. Mike, cut everything off of the comma. Cut everything after the comma off, and that's why. Yeah, just cut all the part after the comma part off, because it's not about that second part. It's about the first part.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's just a bootlicking. It's just a bootlicking session. There's just bootlicking. You can't even call it bootlicking at this point. You could call it boot eating, boot buffet, whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to see. It's ridiculous to see that narrative continuously play out, and mainstream media just that says we're licking boots here. We're licking so hard. We're licking. Can you see us? Can you see us lick our boots for Israel?
Stop.
Well, what I would say is, I would tell people, there was a comment that former Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu said. I'm pretty sure some of you guys know that comment, which he said towards the U.S., and nothing has changed. Though they might play a little dog and pony show out in public, nothing has changed from what Bibi Netanyahu said back then, and that's why he was so. That's why he felt so, I guess, empowered to do whatever the hell they wanted to. That's why they felt so empowered to be able to, if you launch a balloon over and it causes a fire, to go and kill a couple of people. They have no problem with that. Okay, good thing you have on pants, Chris. I don't want to see. Whew, thank God you have on pants.
I have more to say about the FDA, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead,
This time my article will not fail. Where'd I put it? Oh, yeah, Janet Woodcock. So this is funny because she's the one who approved the Pfizer-BioNTech formulation Comirnaty for the BLA, the Biologics Licensure Application. She put it through. And now it just turns out that she's not going to work there anymore at that position. So funny. She faced opposition from some senators and White House disappointment over controversial approval of an Alzheimer's drug. So that's what it is. That's what did it. August 20th, 2021, Wall Street Journal. Janet Woodcock ruled out for top FDA job, sources say. So again, it's not gonna give me the whole story, but I have it on my phone, so it's whatever. So
well, I wanted to say I know the article you're talking about, and it was behind the paywall for our listeners here. Do you have any advice to get past that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Reader mode on your preferred device. I don't know if it works on anything other than an iPhone myself, but if you get the lines at the top of the web page on the right side, you click on that, show reader mode, and then you get past the paywall. Sometimes you don't, and you have to do it again. It's really annoying. But other than that, I'd say try that. And then if you get the page somehow, then take screenshots, and then don't leave the website until you get the screenshots, because they're going to fucking paywall you the next time you go to the article. But if I go to the article within the article, it's WSJ again. So they fuck you both ways. Great. But anyway, she did get out. And and another thing is, like I said, you can use the title of the article, or the headline, whatever they call it. And then you copy and paste it. And if you're using DuckDuckGo, which is what I do, you'll get MSN or Yahoo sometimes as a result. And then you can click on that and it'll show you the whole thing. So that would be on a desktop. That's the desktop solution. Probably already knew that, but there it is again. Okay, here it is. I found something on a different website, so yay. The White House has ruled out, this is on biopharmadive.com, really dug in there. Biden said to rule out Woodcock as permanent FDA chief, August 20th, 2021. The White House has ruled out acting FDA Commissioner Janet Woodcock as the nominee for the agency's permanent chief. Bloomberg News reported. So there's an article within the article there. Leaving the role unfilled 7 months into President Biden's term as the regulator prepares to make key decisions on coronavirus vaccines and treatments. A veteran drug evaluator and a familiar presence on Capitol Hill, Woodcock was believed to be a leading candidate for the job, but resistance has grown over her role in the clearance of opioid drugs, as well as the more recent controversial approval of Biogen's Alzheimer's drug, Aduhelm. The uproar over the latter decision, and in particular the close relationship between FDA staff and Biogen. Nothing about Pfizer, interesting. prompted Woodcock herself to invite a government watchdog to review the process. The vacancy this far into a presidential term is a departure from Presidents Barack Obama and Donald J. Trump, both of whom had nominated a commissioner by March of their first year in office. President George W. Bush, however, didn't have a permanent commissioner until November 2002, nearly 2 years into his presidency. What's interesting about this is you look at some of these characters, like Scott Gottlieb leaves, and then he joins Big Pharma on Pfizer's side. And then we have Dr. Hahn. I talked about this on the show. Dr. Stephen Hahn was FDA commissioner, and then he left for a Moderna offset, an offshoot of Moderna's parent company, which is Flagship Pioneering, which owns a lot of other stocks and whatnot. So they just keep revolving. It's the revolving door of Big Pharma from the FDA. So they're like really deep into this corruption right now, as it turns out. And then on the Moderna thing, because we can't just leave Moderna out, there has been the whole thing in Japan with the contaminated vials consisting of rubber stops. So that's interesting. And
Wait,
Japan
what is
has
your personal
also
opinion
used,
on that?
it was millions of them, so I don't know if that was on purpose or not. I can't prove it was on purpose, but it's interesting. And 2 men have died from it, but it has nothing to do with this. They had the same vaccine from the same batch, but it has nothing to do with their deaths. They're 30-something. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do. There's no correlation, according to Japan and Moderna. And Moderna's like, it ain't us. So I believe Moderna, honestly. I mean,
you have a comment, El?
I have not seen the comments. Hold on.
Yes.
Yeah, the China-made devices one. I like that one. we're all using China's equipment.
Is the trial over? I'm sure he and his wife skated. That's what.
BB's trial? That's what I'd like to know. Did it ever start? Coronavirus kept it from starting. He kept implementing all of these restrictions so that he wouldn't have to go to court, which should be illegal, but whatever, pandemic though, so it's okay. I don't know if it ever happened or if it's going to happen now that he's not even in power. Hell, we're still waiting for Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. It's in November now. Push back. Corona. Oops. Sorry. Can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, but it comes down to it. It is what it is. Not like we can do too much about it. I mean, honestly. It says we bitch about China, but we are all on Chinese-made devices right now. I don't even bitch about China. I bitch about the U.S. for shipping the jobs and all the manufacturing over to China. I can't knock a country which takes advantage of us being stupid and being short-sighted, because our corporations are only worried about making money. So it's cheaper. It was cheaper at that time to send it over to China. Now, when something goes haywire in any kind of way, now we're at the mercy of whatever China is worried about, and that's our nation's fault for doing that. Let's see. I saw a comment that I wanted to check real quick. It said something.
Are you talking about variance comment or
Pretty. It says, well, Israel doctor also say that up 2 days after jab, they're getting that stuff out their body. Yeah. The main reason why we focus on them is because pretty much whatever we see as far as mandates and things, a lot of that echoes whatever China did. I mean, whatever Israel did, a couple of months ahead of time. So whatever they did a few months back, we start seeing over here. It's kind of like how in Great Britain, as we saw lockdowns, 3 or 4 months go by, then we have lockdowns. If they have a new variant, whatever it is, then a few months later, we have a new variant. So that's how I mean, that's why we kind of focus a lot on what the other countries are doing, because that's what ends up happening here. They start pushing some variation of that. Now, because we're such a large country, they can't just roll it all the way out like that. So what'll happen is it'll start off in blue states, and then it'll start be propaganda on the red states on why they're not following suit on X, Y, or Z. Um, what does that say? Yeah. I'll ignore the.
Can I read this Moderna thing real quick?
Sure.
Just get it out of the way. Just the Boston Globe one, and I'll put it in the chat as well. It's about the deaths that I was talking about. It's from September 2nd, from Bloomberg originally, but it's in Boston Globe. Moderna says no evidence yet between vaccine particles and Japan deaths. So Moderna and its Japanese partner, this is who was behind it, Takeda Pharmaceutical Company, said there is currently no evidence linking the deaths of 2 men in Japan to stainless steel particles found in vials of the Moderna vaccine. So this is the stainless steel part. So first it was like rubber stoppers, and now they're saying stainless steel. So it just keeps changing. And then the deaths are currently considered coincidental, pending the end of a formal investigation, the drug maker said in a joint statement Wednesday. The suspension of 1.6 million Moderna shots last week in Japan drew more scrutiny than when the health ministry said Saturday the 2 men who had received shots from one of the halted lots had died. Takeda, which is the local distributor of Moderna shots, said an investigation by Moderna and its manufacturing partner, Rovi SA, showed the debris was stainless steel. The particles likely got into the vials due to an incorrect setup on the manufacturing line that caused 2 pieces of metal to rub up against each other. Metallic particles in the size seen in the Moderna vials may result in a local reaction if injected into muscle, but shouldn't cause other adverse effects, Takeda said. Rovi said no other lots were affected by the manufacturing issue. Takeda said it will recall the 3 lots of vaccine that were halted. The 2 men received their second shots from a lot that didn't have any foreign particles reported, but was halted because the batch was produced at the same facility around a similar time, the Japanese health ministry said Saturday. Damage control. Japan has a deal for 100 million doses of Moderna's vaccine, half to be delivered this year and half in 2022, because we got to keep it all going. About 130.9 million vaccine doses have been administered in Japan, and about 46% of its population is fully inoculated, government data show. And at the same time this is happening, they have the prime minister had given go ahead to ivermectin to be used for treatment purposes.
I want to answer Variant's question right quick.
Go ahead.
Where she wanted to see Mr. Street on the show. We're always happy to have new people on the show, especially, just this past week we had Allie and Sabs, and I've read Allie's work, and I haven't read Sab's work yet, but I find it to be quite good. So, Tender Lungs, all of them, we love having you here. We love having your perspective. We love having you on the show. It basically keeps it fresh, keeps it new, and we learn something. So definitely reach out on that.
And Kelly says, this is what you get when you rush to produce something. We have recalls for food if there are metal or plastic parts, even like grapes. If they find like there's more than like 0.2% cyanide in it, which that comes from some of the chemicals that they put in it, they'll take like a whole like bushels and bushels and bushels just to be careful off of that one. But it seems like when it comes to this situation, it's treated very differently. So I'll let you all kind of surmise why you feel that might be or may not. Let's see. My pleasure. I love the input as well. Comment for you there, Emmanuel.
No, we appreciate you down there. I see the chat's always lively, so I'm always grateful for that.
Oh, that's right. And now let's get on to the other topic about the recall elections with Gavin Newsom. Um, Gavin. Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about jack shit. We didn't get into Kanye West. Chris dipped out, so I wanted Chris as take on the Kanye West. And I guess we'll talk about Gavin Newsom real quick. The whole Gavin Newsom thing. Like I said, everybody, if you are in California or if you know people in California, tell them the priority should be to get him out of power. All he is going to do is every single thing that the mainstream is going to push, meaning more mandatory situations, meaning more people possibly losing their jobs and livelihood if they don't want to get vaccinated. He is going to push for more of that. So if you want more of that kind of forced vaccination and censorships, then I'd say yes, go on ahead and vote for Gavin Newsom. If you don't, then it's pretty obvious. Now, I'm not telling you who you should vote for. And I know a lot of people would think, well, you're a black guy. Why don't you vote for not Gavin Newsom, but Larry Elder? For one, I've never liked Larry Elder. For two,
who could? I mean, man, god damn.
I've always looked at him as one of the biggest sellout. Fuck it, I'll just say it. Coons there is out there. I mean, this is a cleaned up Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks. That's what I see. Just a cleaned up version of it. And his comments, which he just said, I don't know if you guys heard the comments, which he said on reparations, but he said that no, descendants of slavery should not get reparations. But somebody should get reparations. The former plantation owners who lost those slaves and who lost land. That's who he believes should be compensated. And anybody who could even
like Britain, he was comparing it to Britain, right?
Yeah, I look at it like this. So, are you going to go back and are you going to say that Holocaust survivors that they shouldn't have got their reparations? No, you're not going to say that. I know you're not going to say that. And the messed up part about it is we pay reparations to Holocaust survivors when the United States is the one which supposedly came in to save them. How in the fuck are we paying for this? That makes absolutely no fucking sense. Now, we can give reparations for something that happened to somebody in another country by somebody else, but you can't pay reparations to the people who you fucked over in this country? That kind of thinking, I look at that as, I can't even imagine that level of self-hatred or just that big of a sellout that you think that way. But, I don't know. Emmanuel, what's some of your thoughts on Larry Elder's comments?
Can we just call him? Well, I don't know if we can say it on here. I mean, he's just a house. He's just a house N-word, right? He's just a house N-word. That's literally right. That's literally all it is. And hearing him justify and say that and saying, "Oh, we should do it like Britain. We should have bailed out the slave owners, giving them all the money." I'm like, dude, they've already got such a big leg up. The slave owners here. How many of these businesses and corporations had their backs and have their foundations in selling people slavery? How many of them? How many of them in their own way got reparations? How many?
Most of the major institutions, which many of us bank with, got their
exactly
start out of that so-called reparations money. From the loss of or the ending of slavery in this country. That's where they got their damn starts from. And for this guy to feel like they didn't get enough, they need to get more. And then you look at the wealth gap that we already have in this nation. You know what that wealth gap is going to turn to at that point if you feel like paying them more money? I mean, not to mention they got trillions in free labor. And honestly, if you go all the way back to the genesis of slave trade, not only Great Britain, but most of Europe gained a lot of their wealth from slavery in general. They wouldn't be the superpowers they are without slavery. And so it's kind of like jarring to hear somebody argue. I mean, I wish like I could take Larry Elder and literally put him in front of one of his ancestors who are on a plantation and let him say that shit to their face. That's what I would like to see. Because, I mean, I know if I was his ancestors, I probably would literally be like, somebody needs to do an exorcism and bring me back up so I can choke this motherfucker out. I mean, my ancestor does not deserve to be breathing. He's this fucking stupid. Go ahead, man.
And he did it in front of Candace Owens of all people, and she's problematic in her own right. For someone to say it, right, for someone to say that in front of Candace Owens and say, man, that's like the worst take I've ever fucking heard. And we've heard all of her bad takes. Her take, his take was that bad. That bad. My head just started to hurt. I mean, I already didn't like the man, but to realize that he could quite possibly win, because it's nauseating. It nauseates me how much self-hate they have. It's nauseating how some of these black people are. It's ridiculous.
Let's see. Hopes, I might have to check him out. You voted for him, yeah. I'll put mine in the mail tomorrow for him. I was trying to figure out, just like Kelly had said up here. She said, "I hear the recall is a choice between a turd sandwich and a douche, kind of like
nope.
Joe's thing." Yeah, I mean that's what we got. Shit versus shit.
Well, they put them up.
What do you
against
think,
each
El?
other. Yeah, they put them up against each other to make it look like they're so different and everything. And they're both corporate. They're both bought. The other candidates, I watched a whole fucking 2.5 hour debate between 8 candidates. No, 7. I don't know. But like a couple of them.
50 of them
weren't even in the running anymore. But it's from a May 30th. But I watched this debate and I started to really like one of the candidates. I thought he had some good ideas. He ain't Larry Elder. He's not big, huge personality. He's a rapper. He has an interesting name, which I enjoy, but he has some great ideas. And so I've decided to vote for that guy. I'm not going to say who he is, but if you look into who has the funnest name, then you'll find him. But and a rapper. It's not like I'm giving you clues here, but I'm not going to say who I'm voting for because I never do that, but not anymore. I mean, usually I don't even vote, but like I did petition. I signed the petition. I did the Newsom, the Recall Newsom rally. I did like coverage of it for my channel, my YouTube channel, AKL Latham, obviously. And you can see my interview with Major Williams, who bowed out and was like, hey, write me in. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb. I'm not doing that. But I don't know why he like didn't end up doing the paperwork and everything. He never really explained. But he's like, write me in. And I'm like, people are not going to write you in, dude. But like some people just, they want to hog the limelight. And I don't think it's him specifically. I'm not going to start shit with him. But he seemed like a nice dude, but he was a little too Christian for my taste, like too obvious with his Christianity. I mean, he had a Christian hat on when I saw him, and he was talking about things that I definitely agree with. I definitely agree with rolling back on all the restrictions and everything COVID related. I definitely agree with that. I would vote for someone who has a platform about that, who also has a platform on homelessness and actually helping with the issue and not just sweeping everything under the rug like Newsom does with his little photo op. Gosh, he's the worst. Literally anyone would be better except Larry Elder, because that's who they're going with, and that's who they're like fomenting this, rivalry between.
But hell, I would say that's where the problem is going to come in. A lot of leftists, because most people on the left are atheists, they see religion and they start cringing. But in all honesty, the only people who are really going to be fighting back against this for the most part are the religious people. So,
my issue isn't necessarily the religious part. It's if you use your religious beliefs in a political way, that's when it gets a little dicey. So when you're deciding things for other people, like there was a candidate on this debate that I watched who's like no party preference, or is he no party preference? I don't even know. But like he's one of these dudes who's not like in one category like Larry Elder and Gavin Newsom. But he was saying how he wanted to restrict rights to, abortion, like, in Texas and everything. Like, but you can't be, well, he was like libertarian-esque, sort of like on the fence. Like he calls himself libertarian, I guess, and he thinks that everybody should think the same as him. But he was also being very, and it wasn't even necessarily that he had a religious point of view about it, but he wanted to control what people did with their bodies, and at the same time was anti-vaccine mandates. And I just don't see how those correlate. I think that you should stay out of everyone's life, out of everyone's business, mind your own, and that's how you should lead. And
But
if you're,
But
yeah,
this is what I will push back on. This is where people, especially in California, run into the catch-22 and get in trouble. Even if he is like 100% against abortion and all that, he's not getting that passed in California. So to worry about that aspect when you have,
I'm not worried about it. I'm just stating it.
But what I'm saying is, a lot of people out here will not vote for him on that when he's going to be your biggest ally against more mandatory vaccination situations. So what happens is all the vote gets split off into all these different candidates, and then what happens is you get a Larry Elder or you get Gavin Newsom.
Well, that's like saying we shouldn't have any choice. I mean, we do have choice. We have like 46 candidates or something to choose from. So we should know what our choices are going in. And we should know what we're agreeing with on certain people's platforms and what we're not. And if we agree with more than we don't agree with, then we should vote for that person if we feel it's appropriate. And I feel like it's appropriate to vote for the guy I'm voting for.
I hear you, but this is what I call feel-good votes, because it's not going to get the person elected that you want. That's what I see. So you end up.
But I'd rather do that and vote with my conscience than vote for a shitty corporate stooge who's just doing what he's told to do, and he's just a little puppet.
Yeah, but
Marcus, doesn't it all boil down to the lesser evil argument anyway? I mean, even if it just boiled down to two people.
I look at it as if the vaccination thing is the biggest issue right now that you're focusing on, you're going to have to vote on that issue. You're going to have to pick a side. And so if you're really that hardcore and that concerned about all the vaccination stuff, we don't have the luxury to sit there and we'll pick this. And just my opinion. Now people can.
They said that with Biden, though. They did the same shit federally with Biden and Trump, and they did the same thing with Hillary Clinton and the other guy, Trump again. And
we're still dealing with the fallout from Hillary Clinton. You're still talking about that.
But
this shit is going to keep going until you stop doing it, until you stop voting in the shitty person that you don't agree 100% with.
And I look at it like this. But if we're looking at the singular issue about mandatory vaccinations, then what you're basically saying without saying is you're going to basically fall on the side of vaccinations, because by worrying about all these other issues and thinking that, my vote is going to go towards, getting this quality person, you're going to end up putting a mandatory vax person in there. And then we're going to be still, I don't know. That's just my opinion.
You vote for who you vote for. You don't vote for the shitty people who are at the top of the polls. You're voting for who you vote for. And if we had ranked choice voting, it'd be different. But at that point, it's like one vote anyway, and it's not going to make much of a difference. Larry will win or he won't, and it is what it is. But you tried your best to get the better option, and you end up with, the lack of mandates.
That's why, in my opinion, California is always going to be stuck with the corporate candidate. That's why they're always going to be stuck with them. Because at some point...
It's all played out. It's all a theater show. It's a theater show every time. All these elections are theater.
And I wanted to read this comment that Elle had here. It said, if we tax the wealthy like we did in the 50s, we could have Medicare for all, college college education for all, reparations, New Deal. At this point in time, I'm almost getting scared of Medicare for all, because Medicare for all at some point, then it's going to be like, okay, now you're going to be forced to take the vaccination. And
Yeah.
that's where I think that that's going now that, the Great Reset and a lot of this fascism is coming in. You're going to start getting forced to do a whole lot of shit you don't want to now, whereas a couple of years ago, I would have felt like, oh, yeah, all that sounds great. But now with the tenor of what's going on, I just looked like we might have already missed that boat, and we might be in trouble at this point.
And the taxes don't work. Like we pay for people to get bombed. Like that's literally what we're paying for. We're not paying for streets and infrastructure and stuff. Like we're paying for war. That's what taxes are for. We need to not pay taxes. That's what we need to do. Everybody.
I'm getting ready for Gattaca life. I mean, we were talking about.
That's what it's like.
We were talking about predictive programming 2 weeks ago, and I believe that a lot of this predictive programming is leading us to that to those things. Mr. Street here says, sorry for being off topic, which technically you're not really that far off topic. I watched the Book of Eli with Denzel Washington earlier. Hollywood is demonic, but they know what's coming. Exactly. They know what's coming because Hollywood.
They definitely see what's happening.
CIA works with Hollywood.
And it's not even, and it's I didn't even realize how pervasive it's gotten until I start looking back at some of these movies with different eyes. Go back and look at the Avengers. And if you look at how the Avengers is, they literally it's literally like taking the Bible end times narrative and flipping it in a backwards way. So it's like saying, the coming of some kind of Dark Lord to make everybody submit, and we need to fight back against that. And that's what a lot of the predictive programming I say is, anything that might be coming, we need to fight against it. That's the whole alien. What is it? Independence Day. All of these things, any kind of outside thing, we need to bond against that instead of how do we know that outside force isn't coming to save us from the oppression that we all as a whole are going through right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a movie called The Fourth Wave as well. Like they have certain terms that they use now that are right out of the movies.
Yes, you will.
Even TV.
Yes, you will.
Yes.
That's what's coming. I mean, it's going to get to I literally heard somebody on TikTok earlier today, and he was bringing up how basically in the Bible how it talks about how if you are sick to quarantine you away. They're using the rationale of, okay, you're not vaccinated. Basically, that means you're sick, so let's treat you as if you have a plague. I mean, the mental gymnastics which they're doing to push this agenda, they're trying it in every single way. They're trying it with programming. They're trying it with, hey, if you and basically it's a lot of carrot and stick. What they're doing is saying, hey, we give you carrots, we'll give you carrots, we'll give you carrots. Like Chris was saying earlier, how his job is trying to offer money and this and that. But if you don't do it at a certain time, that stick is coming. And once the stick comes, there's no more carrot.
Yeah. They use that language all the time. And then I wanted to shout out to T-Lav, the Last American Vagabond, and Ryan Christian. He did a whole breakdown of the WHO document that I was going to mention today. But since he did such a good one, I'm just going to shout out to him. And you guys should watch that tomorrow if you get a chance. It's 2-something hours, but it's worth looking at it. He breaks down the document. It's about vaccination status, digital certificate for COVID-19, how they're going to utilize it in the member states and everything. It's actually funded partly by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Rockefeller, the usual suspects. So I recommend checking that out and reading the document itself. I'll leave that in the chat for you guys to check out. It's pretty long. It's 99 pages, but you get the idea. There's also an 11-page or so summary of it that you can check out as well. just letting you guys know that. I was going to mention it, but there's no point in me breaking down something that was already broken down. So just check out that stream from the Daily Wrap Up.
This is my point, which I was talking about the voting with Mike. What Mike says here, I just vote for the anti-established candidate, no matter the party or not. If none are present, I don't vote at all. That's my point. All of these people are on one side, and these people are on another side. And if we feel like X is the big issue, then you're not dealing with that big issue. If you're doing, oh, we'll vote for this person or that person or whatever feels good, you're still walking yourself to the slaughter, and that's my take on it. And I know people out here in California are so used to, I vote for everybody, it doesn't matter. But I lived in states where you gotta sometimes choose a lesser of two evils. I mean, it's not even choosing lesser two evils. It's thinking this person is going to harm me, so I'm going to have to vote for this person. So
you're going to vote for Larry Elder?
No, I'm not voting for. I would not vote for Larry Elder or Newsom. That's what I'm saying. I would look for the next non-establishment candidate who's right up under them, who has the best chance of winning, to support them to make sure neither one of those two win. Because I know if they go,
that's what I'm doing. That's literally what I'm doing. So we're in agreement then.
Okay, all right.
I'm voting for this other dude.
Just not voting for Joe Schmo.
Yeah, I wish your state the best of luck, man. Good luck.
I wish this governor the best of luck, whoever the fuck it is, because I don't know.
Yeah, that's what the elites plan on.
Yeah, Kelly, that's what it looks like.
And
that's
honestly,
what it looks like it's happening.
What they're going to probably do, just like Elysium, is they're going to have some kind of sky station. I mean, they already showed that they can do that with the I can't think of what it's called, that sits and floats up in the sky, but they're going to have something like that to get away from us. Pretty has a really, oh boy, I wish I could really go in depth on this comment. Stan Lee was a playwright during war, and he got all his ideas from Marvel. Well, yes and no. What you guys got to realize is, I'll put it this way. Most of these ideas that you see throughout all of these Hollywood scripts are all telling the same story. They just use different ways to tell the same story. A lot of this stuff literally are just biblical stories. Literally biblical stories. And what they're doing is they're just changing around different parts and pieces. You think about Terminator, and it talks about how nuclear war is coming. That's talked about in the Bible. You look back to Star Wars, the Jedi. Who are the Jedi kind of supposed to be? Who are they? I mean, there's literally some of the towns, the names which they use in like Star Wars are literally biblical names. What was it? One of my favorite cartoons growing up, Transformers, Megatron. I'm trying to remember who is it. Enoch, when he ascends to heaven, his name is allegedly Metatron. I mean, they don't come up with these names out of nowhere when you hear all this funny odd stuff. And if you look at even how they dress in Star Wars, it's like old timey, almost like ancient world. The way they dressed, a lot of the stuff was kind of more remote. And then you look at like Game of Thrones, and it talks about that great horn that took down the wall. That's kind of like a shofar. I mean, it's so much stuff that's littered in, but most people don't have a clue.
And the Matrix.
So they don't realize it. The Matrix is talking about these same
Zion.
things. Zion, literally, come on. I mean, and then the one who is coming to save us, and then you find in the end where they tell them you're only going to be able to keep a portion of Zion, and like 2/3 of it's going to be destroyed. That's literally talked about in the Bible. 2/3 of Israelites being destroyed. There's so much stuff that they're always throwing in that's biblical. And what a lot of people don't realize is you start going back to, I gotta be careful how I say this. You go back to some of these people, some of their upbringings, and you'll start to see why you keep seeing a lot of these similar things. Like everybody's, oh man, Steven Spielberg, he's so inventive, and Stan Lee, and all these people, they're so creative. I mean, all they're doing is just taking a lot of Bible stories, which some of them learned in Hebrew school, and they're repackaging them.
Did Chris leave?
Sorry, I had to get on my tangent.
No, I was going to say if anybody wants like a very shallow view of looking at it, you should definitely see the movie or see the series. Everything is a remix because all of it really captures how many scenes and story arcs and characters really just they're from like thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
They're like far deep old school movies,
Yeah.
biblical references, all of it. But everything is a remix.
Like I asked
Great
you,
series.
why do you think they keep making so many movies that are post-apocalyptic, where you see a society like, think of it, they had the TV show, what is it, Last Man on Earth. You had you had what is it, I Am
Yep.
Legend. You go
There was
into
a pandemic in that one too, in Last Man on Earth.
exactly. I mean, well, it's a pandemic also in I Am Legend.
Yep.
You start going through more and more of these movies. I mean, think about it. Every zombie flick, it's a pandemic, which starts the zombie apocalypse, and leads to
Yep.
the downfall of society. I mean, why is Hollywood so obsessed with society falling apart when everybody feels like, well, society's not going to fall apart at all? Well, whether you believe in the Bible or not, I'll just tell you, it literally says that Mystery Babylon is going to be destroyed in the course of 60 minutes, 1 hour. And so, if you grow up with that kind of, I don't want to say belief system, or if you've been taught those stories, whether you believe they're true or not, that, pencils into what you're writing. Now, some of it could be people trying to fulfill these things because they are, I won't go into speculation, but I'll just say some of it could be, them trying to make things happen that go along with it. Some of it could be just happen. I mean, I don't want to do the chicken and egg here on that one. I'll leave that alone. But Kelly, good comment there. I think the powers that be would like to see 28 days later scenario. I mean, all of these different things. What is the one? Another thing, Waterworld. All of these different things talk about post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, I saw the Waterworld comparison after the flooding in New York. Everybody was making that Waterworld comparison.
Hollywood
Yeah.
sure loves to destroy New York.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
They did before, you know
The
what,
day after
too.
tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, I think, right?
I was
And
just
people were
watching
comparing the
not
two
that long
movies
ago.
together.
So you got
Oh, we're a week away. We're a week away, guys.
It said just because we kill the ones with unique, scary ideas, because humans are creatures of habit, but it's just a ride, so just enjoy. I agree. It is a ride. Like, see,
I agree.
my
Quite a
position
ride.
honestly is, and people could think I'm crazy. I feel like I got a decent handle on some of the things that are going on, and I've been watching prophecies continue to fulfill. So I'm like, yep, this shit's on autopilot for me at this point. And my homie, my good brother, Josh Davis is in the building. What's up, Jay? Yes, Waterworld was disturbing. Kevin Costner was deeper than
West,
usual.
yeah.
I mean,
And then Westworld, too.
Westworld is another thing. I mean,
The AI.
things. Well, what was I thinking of? Well, Terminator. What is the theme always with Terminator? All the different movies that machines are going to be our downfall.
Yeah, Rise of the Machines.
What a lot of people don't know is the woman who, now I believe her when she says it, the woman who says that she actually wrote the original screenplays. A lot of people might not know that The Matrix, iRobot, and Terminator are all tied together. How they're tied together is what happens in Terminator is supposed to be the early events of everything going on and the starting to the fall of society. As it gets further in the future, the character that's played by Will Smith in iRobot is actually supposed to be John Connor older. That's where he's getting all of this training and tactic and first starts fighting against the machines and getting an understanding against the machines. Then the Matrix jumps forward and John Connor, that's supposed to be him basically being revived as Neo into the future and still fighting these machines. So the in Terminator 2, that big nuclear blast which you see, that's what destroys everything, which sets up the world which the Matrix is supposed to take place in.
Will
That
Smith was supposed
all
to be
the
Neo too.
Oh, what was that?
Will Smith was
Will Smith was
originally going to be cast
supposed to
as
be
Neo.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You see how all this stuff is tied together. I mean, you can only believe in so many coincidences. I feel like it, and I mean, is the Simpsons? Does everybody really believe the Simpsons just has a fucking crystal ball and they're just guessing all these events? I mean,
No, it's predicted.
Exactly.
And Contagion. We got to Contagion in 2011.
There's a Contagion. There's
APB was the same year.
Before Contagion, we had Outbreak. Remember that?
Yep.
Check out Tomorrow War. That's a good one right there. You definitely need to check out Tomorrow War. That's another one that it's talking about.
Yeah, that one was really got me. Ooh, that one got me. Ugh. That one got me under. That got under my skin.
Mm-hmm. And then some of these
I haven't watched it, but it got me under.
Some of these shows like The Hills Have Eyes. That's also ones that we got to start focusing in, because if you have these kind of nuclear blasts, there's going to be side effects to the people.
Yep.
So that's something to always. What do we got here? One more says, check out Doomsday with Rona Mitra. The hero cops decides to stay and rule the cannibals after the apocalypse. And going on to that also goes into like The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to have actual literal zombies walking around biting people's throats, but it's also showing and getting us ready for a society that's going to collapse.
The CDC will be prepared, though, because they have a document for that specific scenario of a zombie apocalypse. Why would they have a document?
Well, here's the thing. They say that they're going to be ready. What we see from all those movies is, in the movies, they always have a plan too. And what happens? It never fucking works out as planned.
Also, it's always our fault. It's always the military's fault, it seems.
Well, it's the government's fault normally.
The government's military fault. Well, the military always helps everyone, but it's actually the government that's responsible. Or in Train to Busan, it's like a big corporation.
There we go.
I love Train to Busan.
Yeah, Umbrella Corporation. Yeah,
Umbrella Corporation, and I mean that's what they had in Terminator. You had Skynet in the first one. Like I was just watching a little bit earlier before we hopped on. Ironically enough, Terminator: Dark Fate, and it switches from I can't remember what that company is. Like, I just forgot it. Skynet to like Cyberdyne. That's what it switches to. And so even though they change the course of events, it still stays on that same pathway. All of these movies, I Am Legend, which we talked about earlier, all of these things, all are corralled into these same things to keep telling you, hey, shit is about to fall the fuck apart. Be prepared for it. I mean, we're just, at this point, we're in the, how I see it all, it's like we're literally living through like a slow motion car wreck. And most of the people around us, I feel like they're not paying attention and seeing this car wreck about to happen. They're worried about everything else under the sun. Like, I guess I'll go ahead and say this, for those who are worried about, the Green Party and the this and the that ship is already long sailed. It is long sailed. If you're still worried about, if you're still worried about trying to figure out how you can get something done, political parties, then you've already missed the boat. That is dead. What we need to be doing is trying to figure out how to organize and plan for some of the events that are coming down the pike, and whether it's, I hate to sound crazy, but whether you start, basically turning into a form of a prepper or things like that, I wouldn't think you're crazy if you start looking into those types of things and start storing water, toilet paper, and things like that ahead of time, because even if let's say it's not apocalypse or anything like that happening right now, what happens if the truckers decide to go on strike?
Yep.
We're going to have shortages through all of the stores, and that can happen. I know crazy ass Rachel Maddow talked about how Russia has control of our power grids. Well, even if they don't, what if somebody else does? Or what if the elites decide to shut it down on their own?
Marcus, I had a question. When you get a chance.
power grid goes down across the whole entire United States for say a week, what's going to happen? Absolute fucking pandemonium. That's what's going to happen. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
No, okay. I had two questions. First of all, have you heard of the internet not working scenario for like a week or something like that? I can't remember where I read it, but basically, they were running tests where they basically said the internet's just gonna stop altogether. Like it won't work for like anybody, and trying to figure out the exact fallout of what's going to happen, even if it happened for like a day, a week, a month, etc. And then I guess the second question is, someone brought it up online, but I guess I really didn't think of it. It is service interruptions. There are specific food items that aren't being. There are specific food items that are being interrupted. There are packages that are not being mailed. They have like huge delays. What is your take on both of those? Because both of them.
All of these things all of these things are going to start to increase and get worse. And how it's going to start is it's a constant tick up, tick up, tick up, tick up. They can't do it all at once. That's the reason why you look at the surveillance state, how it works. You look over at Great Britain. Great Britain started it first with the surveillance state, a couple of decades back. You skip over to what's going on in Australia, you're seeing the authoritarianism. You look at what's going on with Israel, you're seeing it from the paperwork side of it, from the mandates, from the regulations through laws. You haven't necessarily seen it. Them start to do well. They haven't done the physical fascism stuff, which you're saying in Australia. But what you'll start to see is you will start to see all of these things all start to become across the board. And that's going to tie into vaccine passports and all of those different things like that, and blockchain and all the currency, along with a lot of stuff we talked about when we had Ali and Sebs on last week. I wanted to get back to this one comment because it's a great one. Demolition Man, exactly. We're already moving towards
that. Hell yeah. Right. Yeah, we're already
where you're being censored on your words. I mean, think about, I put out a tweet and I'm like, this dipshit, and then it tells me, do you want to use that because you used a foul?
Yeah.
They're already going into that, what is it? John Spartan, you have been fined 1 credit for violation of the
social credits.
We're already going there right now. And going on to I just watched the other day. I hadn't saw it in a while, but I rewatched Eagle Eye. That same kind of thing.
Oh my god, yeah.
To set you up and make you look like a criminal to basically activate you.
Yeah.
MK Ultra, as in like some kind of snap switches, and then you turn into a zombie and walk out the room like you saw in Conspiracy Theory. But it could just be leveraging this control against you to force you to do it, or say, hey, we got your family over here. If you don't go do X, this is going to happen. Like the movie Nick of Time. I don't know if you guys have seen that old school Johnny Depp movie where they kidnap his daughter. Yep. He has to go and take out, like, I think it's like the vice president or something. All of these things, they put this in movies for a reason. If you look at most movies now, especially after, I want to say maybe 2012, I don't think you're going to see a major big budget movie that does not have all of these different military organizations, CIA, Department of Defense, all within the credits, because they guide and tell them what's approved, what's not approved to say.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize.
And Pentagon is in charge.
Rambo 2 was throwing in propaganda with anti-Russian propaganda back then, trying to cast them as a villain. We look at movies like Red Dawn, Rocky 4, with him going against the Russian. They've been prepping a lot of this mentality, and then
I think Die Hard did it too, the recent one, right?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started on all the Tom Clancy ones. Good Lord.
And the TV show The Americans.
The Americans, that's
yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And we can't forget Minority Report, talking about compiling evidence. I mean, Eagle Eye, Minority Report, Enemy of State, all of these things are about compiling information on us, about monitoring us all the time. and being able to use that against us. Whether it's what they say now, it's, oh, well, we know that you normally buy wine like every Thursday, so we're just giving you an update to remind you of that wine that you want. No, what it's doing is it's gathering every bit of information on you so that if they decide, they
Make
can
a
put you in
profile.
whatever situation they want to apply pressure or do whatever. Once our money gets within this blockchain and all these systems like that, they're literally going to just be able to say, you know what, you owe this person, boom, let's take all this money. And there's nothing you're going to be able, there's not going to be calling the bill collector and say, oh, well, I got a paycheck coming next week, so can I give you half? All that shit's going to go out the window.
Yep. And then like an older version of like how they can fuck with you is the net. I mentioned that in the chat on the last sort of episode with Ali and Sebs. But the net like is a really good example of what they can do.
Oh yeah, the net with Sandra Bullock. Yep.
That shit is crazy. That could happen anytime. Like they literally already have that information. They don't even. You gave it to them. You gave it to them.
Now, even more so with everybody, more people starting to work from home. You're going to have more people, you know, working from home. Less of them are going to
part of it.
Out of the office, so it's going to be even easier for somebody to assume your identity if maybe they might not have physically met you before or seen what you look like in person.
And the rise of automation, because telemedicine and tele this and tele that and tele whatever, like everybody's going to be working remotely. And even if you don't want to remotely work, you're going to be forced into it because you have to get the vaccine, because you'll be forced to do it, and the people who don't want to do it will end up at home or without a job, like a lot of nurses and stuff. So then we'll have more robots in the medical field.
Yep. And JJ says, you're scared. When you panic, you don't think clear. When you don't think clear, you mess up. And financially being FOMO and into stuff you shouldn't. That's it. It's pressure. They're going to keep putting pressure on you, and they're going to keep guiding us into the directions they want to go into. Ooh, good one there, Kelly. My dad and I had completely different takes on the movie Munich. Ooh, we're going to talk about on Discord. Hit me up. We're going to talk about Munich also, because there's a lot in there. I feel like
Steven Spielberg, though. He's so in it. He's in everything.
Yeah, I think he understands.
Why does he produce so much? He's behind every movie that I try to watch. And I'm like, God damn it! Why is he involved? For sure. And she was in The Militia Man.
Wow. Man, do you know about the? Let's see if I'm careful. See who's really into the whole conspiracy theory realm. There's a certain scene in Back to the Future 2 where a character is upside down looking at certain images. For those who are not familiar with that, look up conspiracy theories with Back to the Future 2, and you're going to see some stuff that seems a little strange.
I thought you meant the other thing.
I might find that video and just upload it in the Discord so people can see what I'm talking about if you don't know. But yeah, Back to the Future 2 is some creepy shit in there. And it's also weird how they literally predicted the exact year that the Cubs would win the World Series, and the Cubs hadn't won the World Series in I don't know how many years. So that was pretty weird and creepy to me at the time when that happened.
And I want to point out an essay just real quick, because Crispin Glover was in that movie, the first one, Back to the Future, and did not have a pleasant time and did not come back for the second one. And then they molded a face of him, like they had a mold of his face, and they used it in the second film, but they still covered up the guy and put him upside down, the actor who played him. And then he ended up suing for, using his image and, making people think that was him when it wasn't. And then I don't think it went through. I think he failed, but he wrote an essay. If you guys look it up, you could put it in the Discord too. I'm not going to be there, but it's called What Is It? an essay by Crispin Glover, and you'll learn a little more about Steven Spielberg from his point of view than you ever thought you would know. It's very interesting. And also Crispin Glover is a really interesting guy too. I actually called him once at my work. I'm not going to say what I did, but I talked to him and he was worried about roaming charges because he was in the Czech Republic. So he's an interesting dude. He was filming some movie then that he had made. So he became like a filmmaker himself because he was like thrown out of like big parts, I guess, in the industry because he was too vocal about the shenanigans going on and how stifling it is and everything as an artist. And he has some good interviews with Dave Letterman, who's just a piece of shit. Let's be all honest about that guy. He's just a piece of shit. And he was just an asshole to him. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose or not, but he kept mentioning this character that he did when he did this shit before Joaquin Phoenix. Do you remember when Joaquin Phoenix went on Dave Letterman as the character in his movie that wasn't out yet, and everybody thought he was crazy, and he was rapping and shit? Like, this is him. This is like the pre-air. Like, this is like around Andy Kaufman. Like, he started that shit. But like, Crispin went on as a character in a movie that wasn't going to come out for like 5 years or some shit. And then he had to talk about it every time he came on the damn show. And it just got really annoying for him. And he just kept steering the conversation away from that subject. He's very good at that. His interviews are very entertaining. If you want to look it up on YouTube, that's where I found him. But you learn a lot about Crispin. And he also had a song out too back in the day. Before he did Willard, he had like this weird clown song. Clowny Clown, something about a clown. But check that out if you want to entertain yourself with an interesting man. He's very interesting.
Yeah, JJ, I would have a hard time agreeing with this statement. They make these movies because they want you to think they have this scary stuff and fear them. It's a bluff. They have nothing. AI is crap. Blockchain is crap. Yeah, I believe blockchain is crap. AI is crap. All that. But pre-crime, which they talked about in, for instance, Minority.
That exists.
That exists. The government has already said that they have that. So
Palantir.
Now, they don't have like somebody literally laying in a pool and all that stuff. But by combining all of this information, I'm trying to remember what was the TV show that I used to watch, Person of Interest. That's literally what they do. You know, they compile all this information to come up with a portfolio or breakdown or understanding of you, because they know what you're searching, they know who you call, they know who you're not calling, they know all of these things. They know, okay, when your mom calls and you're like, I don't really want to answer because I'm kind of drunk right now or high or something, and you don't answer. They know all of these different things, and this goes back to what like Edward Snowden was talking about that they're surveilling us, and Chelsea Manning. This goes back to all of these things. That's the reason why they're so hardcore on any of these whistleblowers that want to say anything. Now, I get people who want to, try to fight for the whistleblowers and things like that, but what you're missing is, honestly, there's not much we can do for whistleblowers. If they want to decide to bump them off, they're going to do it. We can sit out there and protest, and all you can do is start preparing yourself for what they're showing you that's going to happen. They've showed their hands, and we've watched sci-fi become reality over and over and over in various different ways. Now, it might not pan out exactly like the movie, but it's too close for it to just all be coincidences. I saw one other comment in there I wanted to read, and I missed it. Where'd it go? Crap. I don't know where that comment went. Oh, well, I guess never mind. It says, who's coming up with all this info? AI, go and talk to a coder. It's spaghetti code. This world is built on spaghetti code. AI, yeah, you can say that, but it's all it is compiling a bunch of information and doing a personality breakdown on you, and that's what they're doing. That's it. they don't have any kind of like psychics to be able to predict anything. The robots are their psychics. The robots are going to do this. And what it shows you in most of these movies down the road is because we start having an over reliance on software and technology, when you start to do it on a grand scale like that, it's going to fail you. I mean, all it takes is say you have a robot arm at the job you work and it just moves this one part to one part. Well, what happens if it misfires and it just starts smacking the shit out of everybody and killing people?
Yeah, like RoboCop.
Yeah, if you have think, well, there's
Exactly.
RoboCop. Everybody can think, oh, well, that's silly. Well, in New York, they already have AI dogs on the streets. Saudi Arabia, that robot which was created, they made her a citizen in Saudi Arabia, and now I don't know exactly what they're doing with her, but
She's not a girl. She's a robot. It's a robot.
well, they use it as a female bot. So I'm just telling you, everybody thinks that this stuff is just a joke. I'm pretty sure that nobody would. I mean, another example, Soylent Green. I mean, what's going on with they're literally trying to pass regulation so that they don't have to tell you if it's real meat or not. I mean, for me,
I would like to know either way.
I mean, I want to know because I don't want to be eating up no kind of crazy shit that you guys just want
I
to
want laugh.
Exactly. I don't need that on my conscience.
Well, also, I keep a dietary law, so there's certain things which I'm not. Per
it has to be kosher.
I'm not even supposed to eat. Being kosher, and so I do want to know if they're trying to slip some shit in that I'm not even supposed to have that could be poisoning me. Sophia, that's another good one right there. I mean, we all could sit there and come up with thing after thing after thing where we can see the implications of these things in the real world. This is not all just conspiracy theory at some point. You keep bringing up movies that they use to program. You think they have robots and some crazy AI shit. It's just false. They do have AI. I mean, have you not seen the robots? I mean, like the movie Elysium. What is it? Elysium, is that the one where they have the robotic body parts that help them be able to lift stuff up and be stronger and stuff like that? Which they also did in the movie Aliens back in the day. They literally are using technology for
construction
people in Asia right now.
Yeah, they have like COVID servant, like robots who make sure you have a mask and like shit like that in Asia. Like, and then they have the DARPA dog, like the fucking Boston Dynamics dog and everything. Like they have all kinds of shit, and they have BTS dancing with it. It's like so fucking weird, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's marketing now.
I mean, police drones. Look at the TV show on Fox like 10 years ago. APB pretty much predicted the alley article, Chicago.
Even before that, there's so many like really like older like 90s kind of like stuff. I don't know exactly what year it is, but there's one thing where it was like a Big Brother kind of play, but like it was like a 30-minute theater or something. But it was like a British kind of show. I don't know if it was British. Never mind. But it's on YouTube. I forgot the name of the thing, but like it had drones in the sky and people under curfew, and they had to get to their house or they would get arrested.
The Colony.
That's right.
Wasn't it The Colony? Where they're literally locked into their different neighborhoods and stuff like that, and they're forced to have to like, have to go through these different checkpoints and things. Yeah, I think it was The Colony. I can't remember the actor. I just remember him as Sawyer from Lost. And the wife was I remember her from Prison Break. I can't remember. Oh, and she was on the first season of Walking Dead, I believe, or first couple of seasons of Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot her name, but Sarah. She was Sarah on Prison Break.
Mm-hmm.
I could find her name. Fuck it.
Find her name real quick. I'm
gonna feel like an idiot because I used to know her name.
I did too. I used to have her name right on the tip of my tongue, but
there's so many actors that are connected to like time travel or futuristic movies, or they just seem to be invariably connected to those films. Keanu Reeves is one that just really just kind of really sticks in my head a lot, and the concept
Sarah
of
Wayne
time travel
Callies.
and movie.
Sarah Wayne Gellar.
Yeah.
Sarah Wayne Callies.
Yeah, that's what it is. Mm-hmm.
She her name is Sarah.
Yeah,
I should have
we
remembered.
were right. Yeah, it was Sarah, and her character was Sarah, and so it was Colony, right?
And the guy from Lost, yeah, Sawyer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I might as well get his name.
Yeah, we all gonna be living like the movie Logan's Run. Exactly.
Oh, Logan's Run, classic.
Oh yeah, yep. That was something, man.
I mean, for somebody to continue to say, "Oh, you guys are just this is all off the wall," then why have we named like about 50 different movies and we all can see correlations now to shit that they were talking about 20, 30 years ago?
Josh Holloway.
Josh Holloway, yeah, that's his name. Yeah, he's a very underrated actor in my opinion. But
from Georgia.
Yeah, yep. Trying to remember. We see these things over and over and over, and we're like, oh, well, that doesn't have anything to do with this. That at that point, then I feel like you were literally trusting the narrative if you're saying that, or maybe whoever that is who hopped in there, maybe they are, maybe they are a little bit of an agent to sit there and just cast doubt and oh no, you guys are all crazy. I don't know.
You never know.
Never know.
You never know who you're talking to on social media at all. Like what these people are like in the replies.
Mike, the X-Files predicted really just like
yes,
like
you. And what they do
don't know.
X-Files is they throw some off the wall shit in there and then throw a couple of things in there. You're like, wait a minute, what the heck?
The Hulu show really went at it. Whew. When it was on Hulu, it was like it had like an Alex Jones type guy. They always have like that guy, the conspiracy theorist.
The reboot,
he laid everything out.
Right.
Yep.
But
the reboot.
And besides Logan's run, we'll all be going in A Handmaid's Tale.
Ugh, that is so overrated. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. I mean, that. But whether it turns out in that way, it's a sign to get prepared for some kind of fascist state where you're going to be massively controlled.
Yep.
I mean, look at like the movie.
Absolutely.
Wall-E was trying to get people prepared to stay at home, get used to just staying at home and stop going to the stores. It puts it in your head, so some of you will start doing it on your own. Be like, you know what, I don't need to go to the store.
Well, I think it was trying to show the opposite. I think that was the idea of it, was that you shouldn't do that. But I get what you're saying. Like, it was giving you the idea, like planting the seed that was going to be the future, showing it to your face, and that the robots are going to save you.
Mm-hmm.
That by and large is basically Amazon, right? That it just started out selling like one thing and then it just ended up selling like everything.
Then the Lego movie too. Like, what the fuck?
Yep. Right here, Star Trek had all kind of predictive technology on their show. Remember Bluetooth? Yeah, they had Bluetooth, and remember they had flip phones. That was cell phones, and they also had what would it be? Basically, what we're talking on right now. They had form of telecommunication where you could talk face to face with people who are not in the same place you are.
A lot of shows did that. A lot of movies had that. Like,
a bunch of them. Yeah.
Oh, there was another one, like Brainstorm, I think is the name of it. It's super interesting.
And I mean,
it was the last movie with Natalie Wood.
And all
before she died.
Weird stuff around Natalie Wood if you start digging into that whole
Oh, Christopher Walken knows something, I tell you that much.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing. A lot of people in Hollywood do know something. They always focus it on, you got to worry about the sex scandals, which that is an issue. I'm not saying that that's something that you should not pay attention to. But there's more going on than worrying about sex scandals. There's a lot more going on. And it's a reason why you'll see an artist, like music industry or something, say, they'll come out with a video and, oh my God, I sold my soul. They're not literally talking about like the devil like pulled off a mask and had some red pointy horns. what they mean is like these people at the top are deceivers, and they like that's the reason why Prince for a couple of years was just calling himself the artist formerly known as, because his name was signed away. They
Yep.
had control of him. I mean, and when they get to, that's the reason why people like Britney Spears are like losing their damn minds. They tell you, you're going to do this many, you're going to do this many appearances. You're going to do it here. You need to be there. You need to say this. You need to act this way. All of it, you're controlled once you start signing these contracts. And that's what they mean when they say sold your soul to the devil. It's not like somebody literally went to the crossroads and pricked their thumb and made a deal with the devil. It means these people in the industry, the way they control you, they're the devil.
So Brainstorm, if you look that movie up, it's about researchers develop a system where they can jump into people's minds, but when people involved bring their personal problems into this equation, it becomes dangerous, perhaps deadly. So that's all about like VR, that sort of thing, or virtual reality, which we already see.
With this one? I am not familiar with
I don't think so. No.
I will have to look it up, definitely. Another one. I can't believe I forgot to bring this one up. Elle, how did you forget Utopia?
Hey, I didn't forget. I was hoping you would mention.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for those who don't know about Utopia,
Never forget.
Even if you don't say you don't have Amazon Prime to look up the newer version, which had John Cusack, which, believe it or not, we showed, what was it, about a 7-minute clip from that out of a 3-hour live stream, and that got it taken down, and we got a strike for playing that clip. That's how much they were scared of that movie. I mean, of us even talking about that. And now, if you don't have Amazon Prime to watch that one, you literally can go on YouTube and watch the UK version, which came out in, what year was that? I believe it's like 2008.
I said 2013 in the chat.
2013 or something like that. Yeah.
It is then.
And then 2020 is when the new one came up. And we got Emmanuel Williams, Mr. Socks and Sandals himself. Like he says right here.
What's up, Emmanuel?
Utopia, the Amazon version, and you will see a lot of this stuff. What the hell is going on? This is not. I know. Yes, this sounds like a bunch of conspiracy theory. We're just throwing shit out there. If you are not skeptical about what the hell these people are doing, then you're gonna fall victim to it. Yeah. So I would rather be looked at as a crazy person who's overly paranoid than to be like, fuck, I saw this shit coming and they still got my ass. Just saying.
There's another interesting series that didn't last very long that was on CBS called Brain Dead, with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Aaron Tveit. I don't really know how to say his name, but it didn't last long. It was very quirky. I don't know if anyone remembers it. It's on Amazon now if you want to watch that. It had like a whole intro with like an improvised song, not improvised, what the fuck, but a song for the previously on this. It was like a guy singing a song on the guitar. It was super weird. But it didn't last very long because it was saying a lot of shit about politics that people didn't want to hear. And it predicted the election a little bit too.
Oh, that's the comment. I don't know if I can find it, but I remember what comment that I was looking for. Somebody said something about the shows Them and Us, and a couple other stuff. I wish I could find that comment. I guess it won't let me go up further enough. But the reason why, especially Us, or is it Us or Them? I'm getting the Key and Peele movie. I'm not talking about the TV show. I get them mixed up between Us and Them. But when it's showing everybody living underground, and then you started having, the people from underground coming to take over the people, like they're all
Spoiler alert
themselves. You know which one I get them mixed up, but you don't know which ones I'm talking about.
Get Out's the best one.
Well, and Get Out. Well, Get Out goes into a whole nother. I mean, we can do a whole show.
Right, it's a lot.
That would make more sense.
There's a lot of deep there.
I want to have a breakdown on that, and I want to have Emmanuel Williams on with us to talk about that one, because I know he's going to have some great takes on it. So,
that is the Us one though.
And right now, what we have going on with the 6 Day Arnold Schwarzenegger, and what we have going on with Lil Nas X. I'm just saying. Well, and speaking to another Schwarzenegger movie. This I can test to when I was in the military. What was it? Eraser. When they were talking about the rail guns or light projected weapons. They haven't worked on getting those down to a small scale. Thank you. It was Us. Thank you, Mr. Street and Manuel. Yes, Us is creepy as fuck, definitely. But that's what the elites are worried about, that the underclass is coming for them. That's what a movie like that is talking about and predicting, that they're worried about the underclass coming to come after the people at the top. Go ahead, Manuel.
No, I was going to say, I still believe that The Running Man will actually still happen. If we're going to talk about a Schwarzenegger film, I still see that. Definitely. The Running Man, yeah. Definitely.
Running Man, shit, I wouldn't be surprised we see Hunger Games in this bitch, for real.
Exactly.
How long until they remake that one? They remake everything. They remade Cinderella again for like the 107th time. The 107th time. 107th time. My gosh. But that's like the most remade movie other than Beauty and the Beast. I think it's like Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella and everything biblical they can think of.
Well, you gotta remember, Hollywood is lazy as fuck.
I know. They've been lazy since the beginning.
Stories. All they do is take repackaged stories, find a way to cast different names on them, maybe give them some superpowers, maybe make them an average guy working at a desk, and it's about people in a coffee shop or whatever. They just spin these same narratives and they talk about different stories. For instance, they talk about supernatural stuff out of the Bible, and then they might talk about, like, there might be a story where in the Bible somebody like raped their sister or something. They make a whole movie about that and then make it about some backwoods country person. That's all they're doing, is taking all of these stories, whether you believe in the Bible or not, but they take these biblical stories and then flip them into the information which we're watching, or the TV shows which we're watching, or they find something like Cinderella, which, believe it or not, you start looking into some of these cartoons and you realize some of them are a little dark. The movie Fantasia, that storyline is very eerie to what happened with the Romanovs. For those who are not familiar with the Romanovs, you need to look up the Romanovs and how they the assassination of that royal family, and like how the daughter was the only one saved. Watch Fantasia and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
Yes, remakes typically happen about 20 to 25 years later.
Yeah, something like that.
Not anymore, though. Not anymore.
Yeah,
they don't wait that long anymore.
Well, what's happened, and the reason why I think it's been going faster is because now what they've been doing is, since they're trying to make everything global, it's easier to just remake some of this stuff instead of having more complex storylines.
It's money.
Yep.
They know it'll make money. If you see your favorite star as this character, this beloved character, I'm shouting out to Cinderella on Amazon Prime right now, because that's a remake that did not have to happen at all and had happened a few years prior, not even 20 years. And over again.
And look, Lion King is the comedic story of Asura, Aset, and Haru. And believe it or not, Disney didn't. They
stole it.
They weren't the first ones to rip that story. It was actually
they won't.
Japanese
Kimbra
guy who ripped this story and took this same story, this Kemet story, and then eventually, then the Lion King took that story also. So they both borrowed this story from Kemet. Actually, a lot of people don't know that. But as you start really digging back to, it doesn't even have to be the Bible. Just dig back into ancient history. You start studying ancient, like for instance, Game of Thrones, the Lannisters and the Starks. that's all going into the War of the Roses. And so if you know history well enough, you'll start realizing, oh, wait a minute, all they're doing is just ripping, some actual real history or biblical history or something from somewhere and just repackaging it and acting like it's an idea they came up with.
Kimba the White Lion, that was the one they ripped off.
Yep,
Yeah.
the Japanese film. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It was an
Japanese
anime.
You said Game of Thrones is too much for me. I mean, but that's what they do. They take these ideas and like even George R.R. Martin tells you that, yeah, I ripped some of it from this, and I was big on Lord of the Rings, so I wanted to do like my own version of Lord of the Rings mixed with this and mixed with that. So he lets you know that he stole a lot of these ideas and kind of mismatched it all together. No, Lion King was not. Well, Lion King was. I thought Lion King was Hamlet. Did Shakespeare rip it off too?
No, they ripped off Shakespeare. But Shakespeare probably ripped someone else off. They all rip each other off.
Supposedly that Shakespeare didn't even write any of his works. It was supposedly like a team or whatever, and he just took all the allegedly the team or whatever, and he took all the credit. Like, so he stole it from. So it's supposedly he like stole all of his ideas from.
Look at this. Emmanuel says Ashur equals Mufasa. Aset wasn't really represented. Haru equals Simba, and Set equals Satan, i.e. Scar, or i.e. Satan equals Scar. So I mean, you just got to be astute to whether even if it's just mythology. They rip stuff out of Greek mythology, which Greek mythology
they do literature all the time.
Rips out of Greek mythology, rips out of the Hittite Empire, which the Hittite Empire ripped out of Kemet, which is Egypt for those who are not familiar, which Egypt ripped out of Sumerian history because it goes all back to when they were all in the same damn place. So that's where a lot of these people started coming up with all these different pantheons of gods, and it all ties together. Yeah, I guess we can go on and on and on, but I know it's late over there on the East Coast, my boy.
No Kanye.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't want to keep him up too late. But yeah, this was a great discussion. We're gonna have to get more into this, and I want you all to let me know which programs and movies would you like for us to actually start diving deeper into, because we're literally seeing a lot of these things, and they might decide, okay, we'll throw a little bit of fiction here, a little bit of nonsense there, but they are putting messages out there for us in predictive programming, and make no mistake about it. People will say, well, you can't be brainwashed. How can you be brainwashed? Whatever. It's easy. It's easy. Predictive programming. Put shit in your head. Get you ready for it.
Plant the seeds.
That's how it happens. Yeah, plant.
Right. Get you set up for the future. Get your mind primed.
Whether it's the seed of fear to make you act a certain way, or whether it's the seed of compliance to make you fall in line.
It's called programming for a reason.
Programming for a reason. I mean, we got to remember, most of what comes out of our media and all that ties back to Edward Bernays, propaganda, Sigmund Freud. I mean, every single one of these major newspaper outlets and reporters and journalists, they all go through basically learn about Sigmund Freud and all of these different ways of implementing this information and putting it in your head. So, I mean, at this point for me, it's pretty damn obvious what's going on. I just hope that the rest of you guys are all being diligent out there and pay attention and catch the shit that we miss. I mean, I love my audience because I believe that you all are just as smart, if not smarter than all of us here. And so we're always able to teach each other something. So I definitely value you all. I'm so glad you guys all hopped in and joined the discussion.
Thank you.
Emmanuel, L, you guys have anything you'd like
Thank
to
you
say?
so much.
Thank you so much. I was just adding thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to say, anyone, losing unemployment and getting evicted at the same time, keep your head up. Make sure you reach out to family and friends, anybody who can help you, because I know that it's probably going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. I do not expect anybody to come and save you. So look out for yourselves.
Just like
Find people or no man.
Just like Mr. Street says here, the enemy will say, "I played fair. I showed you. Didn't I? Wake up." I mean, and that's what they're gonna say. Hey, we told you guys. Why are you so surprised at what the hell's going on? We told you.
Yep.
And part of me often wonders if some of these people, when they're trying to slip some of these messages in there, if maybe they're not trying to be almost whistleblowers in their own way by putting it out that way. Because they know the top elite people don't watch these damn movies and shit. They only care about the bottom line.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
that they're signaling to us, what the owners are doing from the top and what the owners are pushing for and believing. So, with that,
but they still have to get approval.
Well, but they're not going to review it. They don't give a shit. They're like, "Oh, well, you got this actor, you got this person. Okay, cool, whatever." They're never.
Well, no, the Pentagon gets involved and says how the people who work for them should be treated and portrayed in the movie, and this person should be the hero, this person shouldn't, blah blah blah. And they did that with even Top Gun. They got involved in Top Gun themselves, and they would even do script approval. They would even decide what lines to say for this particular character to make them look better. But on that note, I wanted to leave by saying that, if I'm allowed, my podcast, we have the Kanye breakdown that I posted the other day with Chris, who left at some point. And then we also have the Chris episode, which is the last one, Hit Me With the Next Shot. So you can check that out on superawkwardfuncast.podbean.com, coming into the chat soon. And then also I just posted a visual representation of the first part of our conversation about Kanye and the album Donda, which we didn't really get to because I guess he had to go. But check that out on my YouTube channel as well. I did work pretty hard putting those screenshots together, even though it probably doesn't look like it.
Thank you, Kelly.
Damn, that does sound good. Yellow cherry tomatoes and some yellow squash. Man, that sounds good. Haven't had any good fried squash in a minute, and I definitely love tomatoes. I grew up as a kid just like picking them off the vine and just eating them like apples. So, definitely love me some tomatoes and squash. Let's see. On my Hebrew Apologetics page, I got some stuff which I'm working on. Some more historical stuff talking about different. I think I got talking about sub-Saharan slave trade and Silk Road slave trade. That's what I have coming up next on that channel. I'm not. I'll play it by ear on what I do on my What I've Been Thinking channel. Make sure to tune in. I will try to give you guys a heads up on what I'll be talking about on those channels. But that said, this has been the Political Matrix. I'm your host, Young Morpheus, here with L. Latham, the Blue Maverick himself, and Cy Lawson, who had to drop out for a minute. Had to drop out, but he will definitely be back. You all have a good weekend. Be safe out there, and make sure to always be ever vigilant. And yes, always rock chalk.
All right, thanks, guys.